Coverage this morning. He is in Tampa. He will join us in just a moment. But right now, torrential rains, devastating winds whipping through Florida from coast to coast.
The relentless pounding from Hurricane Irma, ripping down power lines, leaving a trail of destruction behind her. Take a look at this transformer blowing in Miami, and scenes like that playing out all over the state. More than 4 million electric customers are without power as we speak, and that number likely to go higher as this storm travels north.
In Naples, water levels are rising at an alarming rate, 9 feet in a 3-hour span. Even though Irma is now a Category 1, forecasters are warning everyone in her path to be prepared for potentially life-threatening storm surge. In the city of Venice, the utilities department has shut down the water plant. There appears to be a significant main break in the system. That means no drinking water or water to flush toilets.
The Brevard County Sheriff's Department reporting 2 tornadoes actually touched down. In Mims and Palm Bay, mobile homes destroyed, but thus far no injuries reported. Irma's ferocious winds collapsing at least 2 construction cranes in Miami, one swinging precariously over downtown while another dangling over the city's Edgewood neighborhood.
CNN has confirmed 1 storm-related death, a driver killed in a single-car accident in Orange County. First responders also already executing rescues across Florida, rescues and evacuations underway along the Intercoastal Waterway right now in Daytona Beach. The North Miami Beach Police Department tweeting this: it had deployed an armored personnel carrier to pull a mother and her 4-month-old child from their flooded home. They were safely transported to a shelter.
Yeah, we spoke with Major Richard Rand about that and the things those first responders are doing. He did unfortunately say looting remains a big problem there in South Florida, but severe punishment is on the way.
Now, the hurricane tearing through the Tampa area overnight. About 28,000 people taking refuge in 45 shelters throughout Hillsborough County. All residents now being told to stay where you are. Let's go live to Tampa. Let's bring in CNN's Victor Blackwell. Victor?
Christine, David, good morning to you. A bit of a change in the weather here. For the last couple of hours, we had just that calm of the eye, just a soft breeze, no real precipitation. We're starting to get what was an intermittent mist now to being pretty steady, and we're expecting that there will be some more showers coming. But the worst is over for this portion of Florida. The front really brutal eye wall passed through here earlier this morning, about 1 a.m., bringing with it the strongest gust we've seen in this part of the state. About 75-mile-per-hour wind gust, which would make that in the category of a 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So that has passed through, but we know that more is coming. There are about 28,000 people, as we know, who are in shelters across Hillsborough County, most of them there because of mandatory evacuations. The city here of Tampa evacuated low-lying areas close to the bay, close to Hillsborough River, because they expected that potential storm surge to flood those areas and really make it impossible for them to get out of the way of the water in time. Also, people who live in mobile homes across Hillsborough County were forced to leave those through those mandatory evacuations. With the winds whipping through, those could be torn apart really quickly and put a lot of people's lives in danger. There is a mandatory curfew that's across this city. The mayor, Bob Buckhorn, saying that police would be very aggressive about making sure that people stay off the roads and off the streets while they assess the damage across this area. We know that what was expected to be a really strong storm surge if the storm passed to the west has not come to fruition as it passed to the east, but still they're looking now to determine what has really been the legacy of Irma for Tampa. About 500,000 of the roughly 4 million people across Florida who've lost power are here in this part of the state. Let's go now to Karen McGinnis. And Karen, am I right here? Maybe I spoke too soon, that the worst is over for Tampa. What are they looking at for the next few hours?
Well, the next few hours, I think, are critical because there is high tide that is taking place right now, and that's about a 2 to 3 feet between the high tide and low tide. And still the wind is coming in from the west. And I think that northwesterly component, that sent a little bit of a surge, but now the wind's coming in more from the west across the Tampa Bay area. That increases the storm surge, but we have seen tremendous storm surge along this northeastern coast of Florida. As a matter of fact, that hasn't been given a lot of attention. I've been talking about it quite a bit. But now we have seen water going over these sea walls all the way from Jacksonville, Tybee Island down to Daytona Beach. I mentioned Daytona Beach because one of the lasting memories that we will probably have from this is Sarah Seidner, who's been pelted in the face, and there you can see it right now. Sarah has really braved Irma in its worst form there. They are saying that there are high water rescues taking place around Daytona Beach now, and India Atlantic Beach area also has reported very heavy rainfall. In some of these locations, we could see isolated amounts there of 20 inches, but India Atlantic, they were saying that some of the water in homes there were up to waist deep. And this was a couple of hours ago. Also, right around Lakeland, we had reports that there were some water in homes up to about 19 inches. Daytona, you could see another potentially heavy band before it really starts to taper off. So that's good news for Sarah. But I want to mention the power outages. We know about Miami Airport having been impacted by the heavy rainfall. They are closed this September 11th. May open for limited service on Tuesday, but that's still an unknown. But here you can see this east coast of Florida, which if you were second guessing yourself and thinking, why did I go from the east coast to the west coast? Because they were impacted as well, all the way from Brevard and into Dade County. 70 to 77% of the Florida Power and Light customers are without power. And then you jump over here towards Naples, Florida. Collier County, 95% of the Florida Power and Light customers there are without power. I want to mention one other thing. Not out of the woods for Georgia, South Carolina, and into Alabama coming up.
Really important information there. You're talking about some of those coastal areas of South Carolina. They're expecting 4 to 6 foot storm surge. You look at the satellite imagery of what 4 to 6 feet of water is going to look like. Just ugly. All right, Karen, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, Charleston floods easily.
Yeah.
That could be a trouble spot ahead. No matter where you are in Florida, though, dangerous winds whipping up from coast to coast. Millions are in the dark. Live coverage in Florida with more of Hurricane Irma. Next.
Do your stained or yellow teeth embarrass you? Chemical whitening strips and trays contain peroxide or bleach and make your teeth sensitive. And trips to the dentist are expensive and inconvenient. Introducing Miracle Teeth, the breakthrough teeth whitening system that everyone's talking about. Just dip your toothbrush in the Miracle Teeth powder and brush it on. Then rinse for a beautiful white smile. It's the fastest, easiest, natural way to whiten your teeth. You'll see incredible results the very first time you use it. And the more you use it, the whiter your teeth will get. The secret's the combination of natural activated coconut charcoal, bentonite powder, and orange seed oil that lifts, extracts, and removes years of yellowing and stains. You'll go from ugly, stained, and yellow to a beautiful, bright white $1 million smile with Miracle Teeth. Miracle Teeth is completely natural and gentle on teeth and gums. It works great on natural teeth or veneers. Just look at the difference. Miracle Teeth will whiten teeth that have been stained by smoking, coffee, soda, red wine, and more. Miracle Teeth gives you the confidence to walk into a room and light it up.
I saw an improvement the first time I used it. The more I use it, the whiter my teeth get. All I do is dip and brush, and that's it.
Other whiteners really make my teeth sensitive, but this is really gentle.
Order now and get a jar of Miracle Teeth for only $19.99, and we'll even give you free shipping. That's right, free shipping. But wait, we'll double the offer free. Just pay a separate fee. Miracle Teeth Whitener is proudly formulated in the USA to the highest standards of manufacturing. If you don't see whiter teeth the very first time you use it, simply return it for a full refund. No questions asked. That's 2 jars of Miracle Teeth, money back guarantee, and free shipping for just $19.99. Call or click now. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-504-0375 or go online at miracleteethwhitener.com. Don't delay. Call 1-800-504-0375 or go online at miracleteethwhitener.com. Order now.
Straining pasta is such a pain when the noodles spill and go down the drain. There has to be a better way. Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with my new Gotham Steel Pasta Pot with tempered glass lid and built-in strainer. Plus our exclusive Stay Cool twist and lock handle. Look here, just twist to lock, then drain the pot. With Gotham Steel, you're guaranteed perfect straining and delicious meals every time. The secret's the twist and lock handles that stay cool to the touch and hold the lid down tight. even upside down with 5 pounds of potatoes. Our IRMA surface is made with super strong titanium and a super slick ceramic. It's durable, so mashing potatoes with electric beaters won't scratch it. Plus, nothing sticks while cooking. Mac and cheese just slides right out. You can even melt cheese right in the pot with no sticking. Try that with another pan. It's a disaster. Our tempered glass lid is high strength and virtually damage proof with both large straining holes and smaller ones, so even the smallest veggies can't escape. The forecourt pot is large enough for a whole seafood boil. Easily drain the broth, then feast your eyes on this. And there's no easier way to hard boil and drain up to 2 dozen eggs. Plus, it's the best way to drain the fat off ground beef. Add beans, tomato sauce and spices for an easy, delicious Texas chili. Or look here, pop some corn. It's non-stick, so no oil is needed. Then mix in marshmallows, chocolate chips and pour out to cool. So good. So don't let straining get you stressed.
Get your Gotham Steel pasta pot with flip and lock handles and tempered glass straining lid for just $29.99 plus shipping. Plus, we'll even guarantee it for 90 days. But wait, call now and you can get a Gotham Steel pan with IRMA surface. Just pay separate fee. You'll get it all, a huge $80 value for just $29.99. Call now.
The order call 1-800-889-8790. That's 1-800-889-8790. Or order online at GothamSteelPot.com.
I'm Victor Blackwell, continuing CNN's live coverage of Hurricane Irma in downtown Tampa. We're starting to get a bit of moisture here. It's intermittent at best. It was steady just a moment ago. I want to go to Stephanie Elam, who is also in Tampa. And Stephanie, there is, of course, this curfew here in Tampa that was enacted yesterday during the evening hours. Are you seeing people defying that curfew? Are they out on foot? Are they driving around? What are you seeing where you are?
I did see one car and I saw one person who was out here. But here's the thing. The first responders are out here now. You see the police cars out here now. I've seen them in every direction now. Every direction now I've looked, I've seen them out here. They are out responding to calls that are coming in, as is fire rescue as well, and they're not playing around. The mayor made it very clear yesterday, the mayor of Tampa, Bob Buckhorn, saying, listen, do not come out here, we don't want you out here. And while it is not really raining on my side of Tampa where I am, right now, Victor, they are still very much concerned about down power lines. They're saying there are a lot of trees that are down. They've knocked down some fences. They're blocking some roadways. And with that, there could be down power lines, and the smallest of puddles could be completely energized, and that would be devastating. It could end your life. It is not worth being out here unless you need to be. You don't need to be unless you are a first responder and perhaps the news, right? So we can tell you to stay at home. But we are seeing more of that activity. I can tell you where I am, Victor, the winds are starting to kick up more, but we're not really seeing the rain that we thought we'd be seeing by this point now as Irma has started moving north of us here in Tampa. But all in all, the sentiment here is that this has turned out to be better than expected for Tampa, a city that was really vulnerable because there is so much water here. But so far, looking better than expected, Victor.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie Elam, also in Tampa for us. We know that we just gotten some information from authorities along the Intracoastal Waterway there on the east coast of Florida that there are evacuations and rescue operations happening right now. So we'll get you more about those as soon as we get it. Let's stay on the east coast there and go to Daytona Beach, where our Sarah Seidner, we've spoken several times this morning, and you said that it's gotten worse. It's as bad as it has been. Each time you said that. How is it now? Is it even worse?
Actually, believe it or not, this is calmer than it was earlier. But then those gusts, and it's the gusts that get you. The sustained winds aren't terrible, but it's the gusts that seem to just push us over. I'm here with my photographer, Jeff King, and producer, Stephanie Becker. She is literally holding on to the light and has things barricaded up against the light. Jeff King is standing in a stance so he can keep up so the wind doesn't push him over, but we're also standing literally 2 feet from our hotel room. We're out on a balcony on the 5th floor. Now, this gives you an idea just how gusty it is up here. It is far more gusty than it is down on the ground, which is where we were earlier today. This is why they close bridges. This is why they don't want high vehicles going over high areas, because when you get up a little elevated, we're not that far from the ground, when you get a little elevated, the wind speed really changes and the wind subsides quite a bit, but it gives people a sense of what's going on. It satisfies their curiosity. We've seen some folks coming out here during this, and we were saying, go inside, we'll do it for you, watch TV, we've got this for you. But the storm is incredibly powerful still. It gives you some idea of just how powerful Irma has been, smacking the West Coast and now smacking the East Coast yet again. This is up from Miami quite a ways. We're about 220 miles or so from Tampa, and we're really seeing the winds pick up here. We do know that the Florida Power and Light situation, we've got workers here that are planning on leaving as soon as this wind dies down during the daylight. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you so much for that. Sarah Seidner in Daytona Beach.
Stay safe, my friend.
Please.
Stay safe.
All right, the city of Miami and nearby areas dealt a harsh blow by Irma. Cranes toppled roofs ripped right off buildings. We'll talk to the mayor of Fort Lauderdale next.
OfferUp is a new free app that shows what your neighbors are selling.
It's kind of like a game. There's always new surprises.
Come on, sofa.
Come on, dining room table.
Come on, flat screen TV.
OfferUp is free to use. Find anything you want nearby.
We just gotta take it one game at a time. Next question.
Can you repeat everything you just said? My live stream won't load.
Technical foul.
Wrong sport.
Wrong network. You need unlimited on Verizon. It's America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. They won't let you down in places like this, even in the strike zone.
It's the red zone.
Pretty sure it's the strike zone. Here, use mine. All right, see you on the court, champ. Heads up.
When it really, really matters, you need the best network and the best unlimited. Now plans start at $40 per line for 4 lines. Meet the hopefuls.
162.53, please.
Went over budget again.
I use Flip to stay on budget. You make a list, and it shows you weekly flyers and coupons in your area. And the best part is, it's free.
Download the app today.
Nothing beats the flavor of butter, but try to spread it and it tears your bread to shreds. It's gooey when warm, and melting it makes an even bigger mess. Now, there's a butter way. Hi, Jeremy Rabe here with Butter Bullet, the amazing cordless and rechargeable power butter sprayer that turns hard-stick butter and margarine into a warm butter spray. It's so easy. Just place a stick of butter in the Butter Bullet and power it up. That's it. In seconds, the battery-operated warmer inside melts just the right amount of butter to the perfect spraying temperature. Simply press the button, and the butter turns into a gentle butter mist spray that covers food completely and evenly. With Butter Bullet, now you can butter toast without shredding it. Add fresh melted butter to corn on the cob, garden fresh veggies, browning and roasting in the oven, baked potatoes, anything you're grilling, even amazing lobster tail. And it's the ultimate buttered popcorn maker for snacking and chilling. Eating light? Butter Bullet lets you control the spray, so you control the calories. And it works with low-fat cooking oils, too. Spritz your cookware with Butter Bullet, and foods won't stick. Spritz a stack of pancakes with Butter Bullet, and they won't last. Hey, add warm butter to every nook and cranny of your breakfast waffles. And the flavor of Butter Bullet grilled cheese will bring you to your knees. And it stores easily on the counter or in the fridge. And right now, you can get Butter Bullet for just 2 easy payments of $19.99. We'll even pay the shipping for you. That's right, free shipping. Butter away, there's more. Order now, and we'll double the offer and send you a second Butter Bullet free. Just pay a separate fee. That's right, you get 2 Butter Bullets for just 2 easy payments of $19.99. So stop spreading and shredding. Spray butter the easy way with Butter Bullet. Here's how to order. Oh, I'd like to order my Butter Bullet, please.
To order Butter Bullet, call 1-800-670-7644 or go online at butterbullet.com. Don't delay. Call 1-800-670-7644 or go online at butterbullet.com. Order now.
It's the 10th season of Parts Unknown, and I still have a job? Who saw that coming?
Season 10 of Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown starts Sunday, October 1st at 9 on CNN.
It's Bo Townsend Nissan's bottom line model year event. Lease a new 2017 Nissan Altima for only $249 a month. For more great deals, visit btnissan.com. It's all about you at Bo Townsend Nissan.
Every year, we survey other funeral homes' prices.
And here they are, Dad. Over 100 price lists.
That is a lot of surveys. And the highest price, over $7,000.
And look at that average, over $4,500.
I don't understand why everyone charges so much. At Newcomer, our price is just $26.95.
And our family satisfaction, over 98%.
Cremations and funerals of the highest quality can be expensive.
But not at Newcomer.
It's Bo Townsend Nissan's Bottom Line Model Year event. Lease a new 2017 Nissan Rogue for $229 a month. For more great deals, visit btnissan.com. It's all about you at Bo Townsend Nissan.
Hey, the most news in the morning. Up next on CNN.
All right, welcome back to our breaking news coverage of Hurricane Irma as it tears across Florida, climbing the coast, packing violent winds and torrential rain. Irma leaving a trail of destruction in South Florida. 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts causing major water damage at Miami International Airport. That airport will remain closed today. Officials tell us they hope to resume a limited flight schedule on Tuesday.
Schools in Miami-Dade County are closed until further notice. Here's some dramatic video showing just how powerful the winds were in Miami, blowing the roof right off this two-story building. Go to CNN meteorologist Derek Van Dam, who's live for us in Miami. Derek, certainly calm there this morning, but still an hour left before those curfews are lifted. What are you seeing there?
Well, we had 91-mile-per-hour wind gusts this morning, and we really saw the full force of Mother Nature, and this is an example of what she did. Category 1 hurricane winds, this is pretty consistent with that. Look at how it uprooted this massive tree, and what's even more astounding than this, if my cameraman just backs up, you got to check this out. It actually pulled up the 6-inch slab of concrete as well. We've got a water main break in here, just a multitude of issues associated with the cleanup efforts going forward with Hurricane Irma's aftermath. And when we talk about electricity, 75% of Miami-Dade County without power right now. That's unbelievable. 3/4 of the county, 850,000 people. And it's all because of trees that have done damage to electricity wires like this. You can see above me there, you can see this tree is actually being supported by one of the electrical wirings. There's transformers in the sky there, many of them just really brightening the horizon with purples and blues as the storm reached its height, its peak early this morning and throughout the course of the day today because transformers continue to blow. Now, the bridges that connect the metro Miami region to the Miami Beach area actually closed right now because they want to make sure that they're structurally sound to be reopened. And they also want to prevent people coming back after they've already evacuated because now is not the time to return just yet. There's got a big cleanup effort underway. We've got lots to talk about here, but in the meantime, I want to send it back to Victor in Tampa. What do you see, Victor?
All right, Derek, we're getting a little bit of rain here, but actually I want to stay there on the southeastern coast of Florida and bring in Mayor of Fort Lauderdale, Mayor Jack Seiler. Mayor, good morning to you, and I wonder if you now have a pretty good idea of the damage or the effect of Irma there for your city. What are you seeing overnight?
Well, we did a pretty substantial assessment last night. The biggest problem was that the storm moved out, and it was just getting dark, and so we really haven't completed our full assessment. But I'll tell you, just what I heard from Miami Beach and Miami, very similar in Fort Lauderdale. I counted over 100 trees that were down, blocking roads, blocking sidewalks, blocking driveways. A lot of trees down. Some structural damage. The most significant one was a roof over on the beach that looks like it had gotten peeled off. And also we had a crane go down like Miami-Dade did. We had a crane that collapsed. So I was very surprised at the amount of damage from a storm that we all thought had sort of moved west of us.
Yeah, that westerly move really didn't leave Miami or the East Coast out of the woods. Let me ask you also about reports of looting there across the city. What do you know about those? We know there have been reports of arrests.
Yes, there were, and we were very clear from the start that we were not going to tolerate looting. We were not going to tolerate people trying to take advantage of those that have been disadvantaged by the storm. And we were very fortunate to get out there timely, and we made several arrests 2 nights ago, and then made some more arrests yesterday. And in fact, I was out last night with our emergency operations people and our police and firefighters, and also made a few more arrests last night. So, listen, the message is very clear. This is not the crime of opportunity. You're going to jump in there and loot and make a further victim of somebody that's been victimized by Hurricane Irma. And we are not going to tolerate it, and we are going to strictly enforce it. And 99.9% of the residents have really been remarkable throughout this whole event. And a few, very small percentage, something like this happens, and that, of course, becomes the news.
Yeah, let's bring in Dave and Christine. Dave, Christine, you got questions for the mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Dave Briggs here in New York. A couple million people there in Florida without power. The question I know on the minds of a lot of those people is how long should they expect to be without power? How long can it take to restore it? Have you guys heard?
Well, we've started those conversations. As I said, what happened was when the winds finally got below 45 miles an hour, it was getting dark, so we weren't able to get a full assessment, and we'll be doing that this morning, starting in about 15 minutes, half hour. But they're not going to be able to really get to us on a schedule for probably another 24 hours. They told us yesterday it would probably be about a 36-hour window, day and a half. There are some high priorities, as you heard earlier, water treatment, sewer treatment, things like that. So they are going to get to us as a priority on our public infrastructure, public facilities that provide, water, so many. But the individual homeowners will probably get a better idea of that here later today. But just like you're hearing in Miami-Dade County, hundreds of thousands of homes have lost power. I actually lost power at my house. To give you here, it's been a very, very significant power outage.
Mr. Mayor, just quickly, Christine Romans here in New York. Remind people who might be tuning in right now about how dangerous it still is to be out there, walking through the streets and poking around. I mean, the most dangerous parts of storms tend to be afterward.
Absolutely. In fact, we still have the curfew in place. Our curfew is going to go longer than Miami-Dade's. We're going to go till 10 a.m. this morning. We want to be able to complete our review and our assessment. But last night, I was out with the professionals, out on the street with the people that are supposed to be there. We watched a car drive into a tree that had fallen down into the road and actually drove into the tree because they didn't see it in the darkness. So we're telling people, stay off the roads, stay off the streets, let us complete our assessment, let us clear the roads of water, power lines, trees, and then you can get out there, later this morning and determine what happened to your individual property or your neighborhood.
Mr. Mayor, it looks by all appearances that the state of Florida, that government officials, first responders were all very well prepared. Probably too early to assess, but looking back on it, did you do everything you hoped ahead of the storm?
Well, yes, absolutely. But a lot of the credit goes to you all. I mean, and I mean that sincerely, because this storm was so big and so bad and so broad for such a long period of time. We were made aware of its immense nature, its intense nature by the media. And then in addition, we made our neighbors, our residents all aware of it. But the media really was also on top of this. And so we had time to prepare. Our neighbors had time to prepare. Our communities had time to prepare. So for the first time, I think we were not surprised by anything that this storm did or could have done. And I think a lot of us in South Florida feel like that it could have done more, and we're very fortunate to only get the brunt of what we did get, not the full brunt of it.
All right, Mayor Jack Seiler, Fort Lauderdale, thank you, sir. We've got a lot of credit goes to the scientists, right, who predict this storm or watch this storm. Victor Blackwell, thank you for your great reporting. All of our teams in Florida, thanks for that. New Day picks it up right now.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We continue now with our special coverage of Hurricane Irma. Be very clear, it is not over. Hurricane Irma still battling the state of Florida right now, some 24 hours plus after first making landfall. I mean, this is an unprecedented beating. Even though the hurricane has been downgraded to a Category 1, it is still a hurricane, and it is doing massive damage everywhere it goes. CNN is everywhere in the path of this storm, and we can show you where Hurricane Irma has been and what she has done. So it is a Category 1, but at latest count, at least 4 million Floridians are without power. The governor saying not only are they without power, but he doesn't know when it will be restored. Will it be days, weeks, longer? The need will be great here, and that's why the President of the United States already signed a disaster declaration. That doesn't merely recognize the existence of the storm, it frees up assets. So we'll be bringing you coverage from here in Naples, Florida, and Allison, of course, is up in New York. There's so many people to talk to, so much information to get out. 6 million people had to be evacuated here. At latest count, there were at least 75,000 people in shelters across the state. How many sheltered in place? How many are out there? As you can see, everything is dark here. Power is out where we are. We're using just minimal battery power. When the light of day comes on to these areas of Florida that were hit hardest, you're going to see things you may have never seen before. So the storm is still very much in effect. Let's go to Sarah Seidner. She's in Daytona Beach, Florida. They're getting hit right now. Sarah, I know your communications aren't great in that kind of weather. If you can hear me, tell us what your situation is.
So this is actually, the gusts have actually come down, believe it or not, after the past couple of hours. The worst of it was about 4:20 when we could barely stand. Now we are still getting some of those gusts, but not nearly as strong, believe it or not, Chris. Now, we are just about 200 yards from Daytona Beach. The water being whipped up very high. In fact, so high, we're on the 5th floor of a hotel that is hurricane rated. I am standing, just so people know, so they know that I'm safe, next to a concrete wall. So if I get down here, I have shelter, and it's much, much easier to stand. But I will tell you that I am getting pelted by salt water, which means that the water from the ocean 200 yards away and 5 stories below me is being whipped up this high and smacking us in the face. I am standing here with my crew, Jeff King and Stephanie Becker, who are literally bracing themselves so that they can hold up the light and the camera and trying not to shift around much. But you'll see it shift a bit because these winds are incredible, Chris, incredible. And folks here thought that the storm had pretty much passed them by. Even emergency management officials in this county and the county that is about 60 miles from us, where Cape Canaveral is, thought that the storm was pretty much on its way out. It was falling apart, and then suddenly it started turning towards this area and is still at Cat 1. We know that on the 5th floor here, Chris, that we're at about 70 to almost 80 mile an hour gusts at points, but it is calming down a little bit compared to what it was just an hour ago. Chris?
Calm, a relative assessment when you're in a hurricane, of course. Be safe. Very frightening, added by the fact that there's so little light. I mean, to go through a hurricane in the dark must be so frightening. That's why one of the reasons our hearts and minds are with all those who sheltered in place, many with children and family. Very tough to go through. Sarah, give us some perspective. Many of the areas that are getting hit now and that still have to worry about this storm have been hit recently. Hurricane Matthew did damage in Gainesville, Jacksonville, and areas surrounding the region of the state that you're in.
Oh, absolutely. There was impacts here. I was actually standing on the ground floor during that storm here at the very same hotel, and I can tell you that the winds then felt like nothing compared to what we have been feeling today. I mean, comparatively, yes, there was damage. Yes, the seawall came up and over into the boardwalk, which everyone loved, the Daytona Beach boardwalk for spring break. That was damaged. There was some damage to the business owners. And I'll tell you something else. The hotel we're staying at spent about $30 million in renovations to deal with some of the aftermath of that hurricane, and now they're being hit again. We have noticed that water is coming up. Everyone is concerned about storm surge, but right now I'm looking at the boardwalk itself, and I do see quite a bit of water that has come up and been pushed up. That is not necessarily storm surge, but that has been pushed up from these absolutely strong winds. Can I mention one other thing to you, Chris? I know everyone is worried about power there, especially in Miami, where so many people are out of power. Florida Power and Light has a lot of their workers here alongside us, and we've been talking to them, and they've been asking us hour after hour, okay, when is the storm passing? How long will it be? They are ready and willing to get out as soon as the storm passes by and they can drive the roads. They are heading, many of them, to Miami. This is an unprecedented event, and there is an unprecedented response from the power companies. Florida Power and Light telling us that this is a historic day for them because they have deployed at least 16,000 workers, more than they ever have in the history of the company. 16,000 workers to try and restore power to more people that have ever lost power before. Chris?
That is a very key component because they need to get back out there, but they need the storm to abate before they can. And that's just the workers from this state, unprecedented, but they'll be coming from surrounding states as well. We're told the cooperation is very good. They're trying to put together teams, mini teams of who's going to clear the debris so that the power guys can get in, and how do they deal with getting rid of water where they need it to work on transformers and lines. So we're going to watch that, especially once the sun comes up, because as you know, in places like where we are, there is no power, so we can see nothing right now. There's just one random street light, one kiosk that mattered to stay lit. All right, so let's deal with the priorities. Sarah, stay safe, shelter yourself and the team. Let us know when to check back with you. Right now, let's get to Chad Myers. Chad, you know, as you were coaching us through all afternoon yesterday, this storm is unprecedented in one way because of its breadth. It never ends. It's still blowing here. It's still blowing in Miami. The rain is still coming in all these different parts of the state. Please take us through the radar and explain why there's so many who are probably never went to sleep in Florida saying it just doesn't end.
It doesn't end. The storm was so big, north to south and east to west, that it feels like it's just never ending. And the East Coast is still taking a pounding, even though the center of the eye is now 90 miles to the west of the coast, 90 miles west of the east coast of Florida. And Sarah is still seeing bands here from Daytona Beach and Jacksonville. You're flooding this morning. Watch out for the St. Johns River. Watch out into Tybee, all the way up into parts of South Carolina. That onshore flow is still tremendous. There you go, north of Tampa, not that far from Weeki Wachee. That's where the center of the eye is. So Ocala, Orlando, the Villages, still seeing that. Claremont, Lake City, still seeing the worst of this. What you saw right there from Sarah is what they are seeing everywhere across northern Florida. That's the wind translating down. Now, I know this thing doesn't have an eye, but it still has a pressure. It still has a low pressure, lower than any snowstorm you would ever see in the Northeast. So think about what the snowstorm winds can be like. We have those winds down here in Florida still, and those winds are going to move up into Georgia, into parts of Alabama, and into South Carolina later on this morning, because the low is not that far north of Orlando, and it's not that far south of the Georgia-Florida border. We're still going to see winds of 70 to 75 miles per hour, and if that number of power company lights, people without power, goes up, I wouldn't be surprised at all. There's going to be a triage. If they can get your power line up and they can put up another 4,000 people at the same time, you'll be the priority. If your tree in your backyard took your power line down and they're only going to get one person back online, you're the last person to get fixed. Naples had a gust of 142. Marco Island, 130. Significant flooding there in Marco Island as the surge took over Marco Island. Other gusts somewhere around 122 to 120. We do know that the Florida Keys got hit first. They got hit the hardest. Big Pine Key, Cudjoe Key really got hit hard. But look at the rainfall amounts, Chris. Melbourne, Florida picked up 14 inches of rain. So talking about the flooding there in Palm Bay and Melbourne, Indian Atlantic Beach, that's all because of freshwater rain and saltwater surge adding together, Chris.
Yeah. You know, after we were done with you last night, you know, nobody's going to sleep during this thing. First of all, it's frightening. It just is. The howling of the wind and things falling down. I wanted to go out and look around, and really it was just blowing too much to walk around. And also, people who are out in these elements, it's not just water. I mean, for Sarah, getting hit with salt spray, that's the worst. We know that. But just the pressure and the water. Our eyes were burning too much to sleep last night. Even this morning, it's hard. And I don't know if you saw it, Chad, but what you were worried about with the storm surge came true here in Naples. We didn't have to worry about it flooding us here, you know, about 3/4 of a mile from the water. But those homes, there's so many homes inundated with water here. So many people we were talking to last night don't know yet. And they're like, I heard my whole area is flooded. My whole area is flooded. So the light of day is going to really be a horrible wake-up call for so many people. So this is very far from over. Chad, stick around. We're going to have so many questions for you throughout the morning. And thank you so much for your excellent guidance to this point. Let's check in with the current state of IRMA. You're going to hear a lot of past tense. It is incorrect. It is very much still ongoing with this storm. A Category 1 hurricane is more than anyone should ever want to face. Kaylee Hartung in Gainesville, again, another place that was already hit within the last year or so by Hurricane Matthew. They're getting hit right now. Kaylee, what's the situation?
Well, Chris, just as you say that, we hear a siren go off here on the University of Florida campus. And compared to what Sarah was describing in Daytona, the living feels easy here in Gainesville. But the fact is, we have not yet felt the worst of it here, as what remains of that eye wall moves up through Marion County just south of here. They are expecting the worst conditions Gainesville will see in the next hour or two, the heaviest rains and the strongest winds, hurricane force winds. That means winds greater than 74 miles an hour. The rain has been downpouring overnight. I could hear those strong gusts of wind just sitting in my hotel room overnight. As you mentioned, hard to sleep when you don't know exactly what's going on around you in the darkness of night. But truthfully, we haven't seen much more destruction than some tree debris around this area. I'm shielded here on one side by Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, University of Florida's football stadium, but it's not hard to be able to see at times the wind coming from every other direction. Power outages were such a concern for so many people in Florida in the lead up to the storm, specifically here in Gainesville, so much so I met elderly folks and special needs folks who voluntarily went to shelters in this area as early as Friday with the concern for the power outages in this area. We're told more than 30,000 are without power in the Gainesville area, and the regional utility company in this area, of course, not responding to calls for service at this moment in anticipation of these winds that we expect in the next hour or two. On the University of Florida campus, a campus of more than 50,000 students, I'm told the concern for so many here is what their families are experiencing in other parts of the state, Chris.
Kaylee, it is not over. Stay safe. Be very careful. You know, only scientists are impressed by the downgrading of a hurricane. If you're standing even in 50-mile-an-hour sustained wind, you're going to know it. If you get hit with something, you're going to really know it. So please be safe. We'll check back with you. So as you look around the state, we'll be showing you maps all morning of where Hurricane Irma is right now and what she's doing. Orlando, we have Bryn Gingras there. That's another place, Bryn, where they thought they would be okay, and yet the blow is there. Power outages are affecting them, and it's going to be bad for days, maybe even weeks to come. What's it like right now?
Yeah, Chris, far from okay. We are getting some major wind gusts. I was listening to Sarah's live shot. She's got that rain coming from the water. We don't have the rain issue, but the wind gusts are very strong. And I got to tell you, Chris, I talked to emergency officials just before I came on the air. And right now, the National Guard is trying to rescue people from an apartment building, 24 apartments, because they all flooded. So you can imagine those guys trying to go to work right now with this intense wind coming at them. That's the issue. We had rain overnight. It caused flooding in this area, and now we're dealing with the wind from this storm. And that's the entire reason why the city of Orlando especially, and this county, Orange County, has put in a mandatory curfew until tonight, because they don't want people, even though they're in Orlando, even though they evacuated to this area to escape the coast, they don't want them to let their guard down just because we're in the center of the state. They don't want them to go home thinking it's okay when you got these serious wind gusts coming at you that can cause a lot of damage. Certainly, we have seen a lot of things flying around overnight. One of the things I keep referencing again are those bulbs that are around the lamps. They come crashing down anytime, really, a major wind gust, and it sounds like a mini car crash happening all around us. So wind, the major issue right now, and I don't see it letting up anytime soon, Allison.
I think you're right, Bryn. Hang on there, and obviously we'll check back with you. Thank you for that reporting. So joining us now on the phone is Carlos Aviles. He is the fire chief in St. Augustine, Florida, which is about 45 miles south of Jacksonville. Chief, thank you for joining us. Tell us what the situation is in St. Augustine at this hour.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Well, I tell you, crews have been really swamped and busy all night. You know, this area was devastated by Hurricane Matthew only 11 months ago, and you know, sadly, we're repeating this right now as we speak. We have hundreds of residents that are still displaced as a result of Matthew, or that are still in the rebuilding process. But overnight last night, we saw significant flooding on our barrier islands and our historic downtown core. I can tell you that we've performed dozens of rescues already in the wee morning hours, had several auto accidents with entrapment. We've had a structural collapse. we're waiting on confirmation of what we believe was a tornado touchdown last night around midnight and several structure fires. So we 100% have our hands full, but we maintained our posture up. You know, we believed we were going to be impacted from this storm early. The track shifted west, but we maintained our posture here for readiness. So we had all the resources that we need, but we have a long road ahead of us if we're moving forward.
If it sure sounds like it. I mean, the idea that you've already had to go out and do rescues and seen car crashes and seen fires and all of that. And I mean, based on what Chad Myers is telling us, our meteorologist, it sounds like it's just now coming to your neck of the woods. What is your, how many people do you think are trapped? What's your plan for more rescues over the next 2 hours?
No, I mean, we're just going to continue to get to them as we can. I mean, what I would tell folks is if you have evacuated this area, you need to stay placed in shelter where you are. If you evacuated, we had a mandatory evacuation of our zones A and B. And if you left town as a result of those evacuations, you need to stay where you are. It may be a while before we open up certain parts of town. We haven't even begun doing damage assessments yet, but the list is growing as we speak.
Chief, we're looking at the radar on the right side of our screen, now below me, as we were just talking, to see that it is coming to you right now. I mean, what are the conditions like around you? How windy is it? Is it raining?
No, it's very windy and rainy. We have about 4 to 5 feet of water on the streets right now. So, and lots of down trees. So it's becoming very challenging for our responders to get out to some of these areas. So we're doing everything that we can. We're just asking folks to be patient and remain sheltered in place. So hopefully nobody decides to try to come out in this when the sun comes up.
Absolutely, and we're happy to help you get that word out. Everyone stay inside, shelter in place. Chief Aviles, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. Best of luck down there today.
I appreciate it. See you all on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, wow, what a weekend you've had. I mean, everyone was watching your reporting all weekend, Chris. So gripping to watch how the storm came in and all the conditions around you. We couldn't turn away. It was just incredible, the reporting that you and all of our colleagues have been doing down there.
Team was in all the right places and everybody did what they need to do. The problem is that the job was as necessary as it was and is. I can't tell you how many first responders, you get these loosely set up networks during these types of disasters for information, for communication. And first responders really only know what we're telling them until they can get outside. Here in Naples, it's locals who cleared the streets. We haven't seen emergency services vehicles yet, and that's not a criticism. It's about safety. So the light of day is going to create a whole new wave of need, of concern, of desperation. That's why we're staying away from fatality numbers. It's too early to tell. Even real injuries, property damage, where is it worse? We don't know, and it's still ongoing. So, for example, let's take a break now. When we come back, at least Miami was spared. Do you remember that part of this story, that the track was shifting? They'll be okay. No, they weren't okay. They got pounded for hour after hour. The flooding, the devastation, the damage. We're going to show you when we come back just what Hurricane Irma has done and may still do. Stay with us.
Stay with me, Mr. Parker.
When a critical patient is far from the hospital must come to the patient.
Stay with me, Mr. Parker.
The AT&T network is helping first responders connect with medical teams in near real time. Stay with me, Mr. Parker. Saving time when it matters most.
Stay with me, Mrs. Parker.
That's the power of and.
Harry's meeting clients from far away, but they only see his wrinkles. He's gotta play it cool to seal the deal. Better find a way to smooth things over. If only Harry used some bounce to drive. Yeah, he would be less wrinkly and winning at life.
If you battle chronic back pain or joint pain, turn it off with Icy Hot Smart Relief. Among leading brands, only Smart Relief is indicated to relieve chronic pain. Imagine the difference it'll make in your life. Turn off chronic pain with Icy Hot Smart Relief.
In case you need anything, just give me a call. Thank you.
P.O. Box 17. Of course I'm a real company.
Everything your customers see tells a story. Let the UPS store help you tell the right one. From business cards and banners to expertly packed shipments to mailboxes with a real street address. Come in today for help. Get everything you need to tell the story of your business at upsstoreprint.com.
You can turn the world on with a smile. You can take a nothing day and suddenly make it all seem worthwhile. Well, it's a girl and you should know it. Each class and every little movement you show it. You're gonna make it after all.
It takes a long time to get to the top. But with America's best bumper-to-bumper limited warranty, the all-new Volkswagen Tiguan will be there every step of the way.
Tennis training has evolved in really weird ways. Just ask the Bryan brothers. The Izod Performance Stretch Chino with Sportflex expandable waistband.
Golden Corral's Prime Rib and Shrimp Spectacular is here. Slow roasted prime rib, shrimp skewers hot off the grill, garlic herb butter sirloin, and butterfly shrimp. Dinner's just $13.99. So hurry in for endless prime rib and shrimp. Golden Corral, your choice rules.
I'm so in love with you. Whatever you want to do is all right with me. Oh, baby, let's stay together.
Nurture dried out hair with deeply restorative care. Garnier Whole Blends Legendary Olive Leave-In Conditioner. Enhanced with olive oil and olive leaf extracts. To detangle, work a dollop through damp or dry hair and infuse it with softness. Garnier Whole Blends Legendary Olive.
Hurricane Irma still punishing Florida. A Category 1 hurricane making its way north and starting now to shift across the state. This was never anticipated to be as widespread, as persistent, and now as devastating as Hurricane Irma is proving to be. Let's take Miami, for example. Here in Naples, we had major wind gusts, the biggest they've seen in the state so far. But the duration of pounding and water and flooding and damage that Miami has seen and is still seeing took everyone by surprise. Rosa Flores has braved that storm with the rest of the CNN team in place. And you're going to tell us the story of a city that is absolutely affected in every way by a hurricane.
You know, Chris, the heavy winds here in downtown Miami snapped cranes. They uprooted trees like the one that you see behind me. We saw 3.5 feet of storm surge that turned one of the streets in the financial district into a raging river. Now, like you mentioned, Miami did not see the destruction of the eye of the storm, but that doesn't mean that the city was spared. Hurricane Irma walloping the Sunshine State from coast to coast, making landfall in Florida as a Category 4. The 400-mile-wide storm leaving the low-lying Florida Keys underwater. Powerful 130-mile-per-hour winds whipping through southwest Florida Sunday, downing power lines and leaving a trail of debris behind. More than 4 million customers without power across the state. Irma pummeling Marco Island as a Category 3 hurricane, registering some of the strongest winds in the state. These two photos from Marco Island taken just 15 minutes apart, showing docks completely submerged by the increasing storm surge. In nearby Naples, the 140-mile-per-hour wind gusts tossing aluminum siding for mobile homes throughout the neighborhood. Irma's powerful wind gusts peeling the roof clean off of this apartment building in Miami. The dramatic moment caught on camera. Roaring winds and heavy rain in the downtown area, turning streets into rivers. A major concern in downtown Miami, construction cranes weighing several tons, threatening everything below. At least 2 cranes in downtown Miami snapping under the pressure of Irma's howling winds. In North Miami Beach, police rescuing this 4-month-old baby and its mother from a flooded home. And a Fort Lauderdale resident watches in horror as a backyard tree is uprooted right before their eyes. Several tornadoes reported as Hurricane Irma began its assault on Florida. Waterspouts just like this one popping up, threatening to wreak havoc. Florida's governor imploring Floridians the day before to heed local evacuation orders. Over 6 million ordered to evacuate. The mass exodus becoming one of the largest evacuations in U.S. history.
If you have been ordered to evacuate, you need to leave now.
More than 160,000 hunkering down in shelters across the state. And 35 people were forced to evacuate Sunday evening in Riviera Beach after the roof collapsed on this apartment complex. But amid the chaos, a miracle in Coral Springs. This baby girl delivered at home. First responders carrying the little one to safety. Now in Miami-Dade County, 28 people were arrested overnight for looting. Now this city is trying to get back to normalcy. As the sun rises, we will see assessment crews assessing damage, removing trees like the one that you see behind me, Chris, to try to get back to work, to try to get this financial district back working. We do know, however, that a lot of the shelters that were used in this area were schools. So the superintendent of Miami-Dade telling us that the schools are closed until further notice. Chris.
Yeah, Rosa, not even close to life, beginning to get back to normal. Thank you for the reporting and showing, just one set of aspects of what this storm has done. You're going to keep seeing new picture for days to come. In fact, the storm is still impacting this state in ways that we're not able to measure. Look at Sumter County. Look what's happening with the surf. The storm surge is going to be a big story. You're going to see devastation from this storm, and you will continue to see it as the storm continues to move. So we're going to show you a picture throughout the morning. You heard Rosa talk about one of the rescues that they already had to do in Miami. Remember, the first responders didn't want to go out in those conditions. It's very dangerous. That was in North Miami Beach, and that's where we have Major Richard Rand, part of the first responder force that's going to have to get out there. Major, thank you so much. We know you're very busy, especially today, once you get some light on the situation. But even though you've had to make rescues already, and that's dramatic, thank God you're able to save that mom and her child, your work really hasn't even begun yet, has it?
Oh, good morning, and that's the truth. The worst part of this storm, even though it has passed us, is ahead of us, because we have lots of reports of live wires down, a lot of standing water, some areas 2 to 3 feet of water. And one of our worst nightmares is people waking up this morning, wanting to get outside, wanting to get out of their house, and stepping in a water that has a live power line in it. We're facing some big obstacles that we have to overcome this morning.
We were talking to people here in Naples last night. After all the drama that went through, they were so desperate to get back to their homes. People who decided to take shelter in some of the hotels and the stronger structures here in downtown Naples. But in the dark, with all that debris and all the power lines that are down, you just can't do it. It's unsafe. Even still, we haven't had the clearing crews go out yet. The storm's still ongoing. So what was it like for your team to have to get out in the storm yesterday to get to that mom? How did you find out? And how did that go, that rescue?
Well, first of all, I have to say a big thank you to our first responders. Our North Miami Beach Police Department really, really, really stepped up. Our policy is at 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds, we pull all emergency vehicles off of the road because it's just simply not safe. for our first responders. God forbid one of them gets in an accident. Now we have 2 emergencies on hand. So the story came out yesterday. We got a phone call from a neighbor, a 911 call, frantic, calling the police saying that his neighbor is a single mother and has a 4-month-old child in the house. The streets are flooded, 2 to 3 feet of water, and it's rising very quickly. And that he's concerned that the mother is trapped inside the house with the 4-month-old. We immediately deployed our emergency response team and our MRAP, which is a unique vehicle that we purchased years ago from the military. 4 occasions just like this. The vehicle was sent out into the neighborhood, was able to make its way to the home, pulled up. The operators jumped out of the truck with a medic. They breached the front door, took the baby out of the mother's arms, and took the mother and the baby and put them in the MRAP and took them to shelter. Incredible work.
And done under the worst of conditions. Obviously, the storm's still very much in effect there. Luckily for you, the preparation and having the right tools, that was part of the story heading into the storm, is that, you guys are so uniquely equipped and prepared and motivated when it comes to disasters. And that piece of equipment, those MRAPs for people at home, I think you were seeing video of them, they have a specially designed hull that was originally designed to distribute force during a blast if they went over something, but their hull works very well in water situations like yesterday as well, don't they, Major?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, I had my crews out there all night. We had a double stabbing in the middle of the worst part of the storm. I sent the same emergency response team. We located 2 victims that were stabbed. And because we couldn't get rescue out there, we actually transported the 2 victims to the trauma center, went back, located the subject who committed the stabbing, took him into custody, and transported him as well. I mean, this vehicle saved lives last night. Incredible. And it's out there today pulling the large trees off the roadway.
The vehicle is only as good as the man or woman behind the wheel. And this is going to be a story of unbelievable effort by good people, the best among us, to help the rest of us. So, Major, thank you very much for taking the time. Let us know how we can help, what information needs to get out there. Consider us a resource, and please stay safe. Still plenty of things that can go wrong in this storm.
Yes, and thank you, and we'll keep our prayers out there.
Allison, it's needed. People always think it's a throwaway line, but when you have no power, when people can't get out there to help you, very often all you have is who's around you, and if you're lucky, the hope that something greater will sustain you.
Oh, Chris, what a story. I mean, and thank God that those neighbors called the police about that 4-month-old baby, and thank God the police were able to get there. So, Chris, obviously we'll check back with you. Meanwhile, we want to say that Daytona Beach is being hit really hard, and CNN's Sarah Seidner is in the thick of it. Sarah hanging on while being pelted by rain and hurricane-force winds. We go to her for a report next.
There are 24 hours in a day. Tempur-Pedic helps you get the most out of every one of them. Only proprietary Tempur material precisely conforms to your body. You get up to twice as much pressure relieving power, so you won't toss and turn. And Tempur-Pedic is the best at minimizing motion transfer from your partner. You'll sleep deeply and wake up feeling powerful. Now through September 17th, save up to $500 on select adjustable sets. Find your exclusive retailer at Tempur-Pedic.com.
T-Mobile's Unlimited now includes Netflix on Us. That's right, Netflix on Us. Get 4 unlimited lines for just $40 each, taxes and fees included. And now, Netflix included. So go ahead, binge on Us. Woo! Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.
Pack for any occasion with Joseph A. Bank Super Tuesday sale and save up to 70% store-wide. Executive suits $199. Best-selling traveler shirts $3 for $99. Plus, take an extra 50% off clearance items. The Super Tuesday sale, only at Joseph A. Bank.
Listen up, heart disease. You too, unnecessary ER visits. And hey, unmanaged depression. Don't get too comfortable. We're talking to you, cost inefficiencies and data without insights. And fragmented care. Stop getting in the way of patient recovery. And pay attention. Every single one of you is on our list. For those who won't rest until the world is healthier, neither will we. Optum. How well gets done.
Scarves off, V-necks on. Gold Bond Neck and Chest Cream helps improve skin's texture, elasticity, and youthful appearance. 97% had firmer looking skin at 2 weeks. Love it. Gold Bond Neck and Chest in the body lotion aisle.
It's the 10th season of Parts Unknown, and I still have a job? Who saw that coming?
Season 10 of Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown starts Sunday, October 1st at 9 on CNN.
This is Ford Truck Month. And time to imagine what you can do in a 2017 Ford F-150. With best-in-class payload and gas mileage. That's Ford, and that's how you become America's best-selling brand.
Sir, nice truck, huh?
Whoa.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Now during Truck Month, get an F-150 with up to $10,000 in total savings. That's right, up to $10 grand. Hurry to your local Ford store now.
The judgment-free zone is where you belong. For $1 down and then $10 a month. $1 down and then $10 a month. Because everyone can use a little love. For $1 down and then $10 a month. The world judges. We don't. Join now in club or online at planetfitness.com. Planet Fitness. Be free.
Planet Fitness is coming to Inglewood, and now through September 22nd, you can join for just $1 down and $10 a month.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Hurricane Irma still very much in full effect. A Category 1 hurricane pounding the northern parts of Florida after making her way through the entire state. Here's what we know right now. You're going to be seeing live picture of what this storm is doing to communities still. We are in the dark here in Naples because there is no power. Some of the 4 million Floridians without power are here. 6 million were evacuated. There are over 150,000 in shelters still as the sun comes up this morning. At some point, we're all waiting for it because we need it not just to see, but to shed light on the situations that you're going to see all over this state. 6 million had to get out. 150,000 are in shelters. 4 million have no power. Now, the worst numbers to talk about will be those who didn't make it through the storm. And frankly, those stories are out there, but they are too early to confirm and too early to discuss. We have to know everything before we start talking about that because we don't want to give any false hope. Now, let's deal with this current situation. We're going to get right now to Steve Garten. He is the Flagler County Emergency Manager. He's up there in Palm Coast. And, Steve, what you've seen, we all knew it was going to be bad, but you're dealing with more than was expected.
We did. I mean, this wind field is absolutely rapidly expanding as the storm came north. And we already have approximately 90% of our citizens in Flagler County out of power.
And as the governor was saying, to try to prepare people, and that's why the evacuation calls were so constant, it's not just about being out of power, it's about how long, right? What are you thinking in terms of what the variables are for dealing with that?
We're anticipating wind, again, this current wind sustained around 40 miles an hour with gusts up to 60. And that's a strong tropical storm force winds. And we're going to probably see that go all the way into about noon, if not later today. So we still have a lot of hours to go to ride this storm out.
Now, ordinarily, you don't want to get out there as first responders in those kinds of conditions. Is that still the thinking now, or are you going to adjust the plan based on what the storm is doing?
We're going to adjust the plan, but I mean, just like you said before, we're waiting for daylight to get out to survey the amount of damage. Ultimately, we have a curfew in effect till noon, and we're going to make sure that the roads and the bridges we have are safe well before we let the public out on the roadway.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching it here. It's just pitch black except for a couple of radio antennas, and we're seeing headlights every once in a while, and too often we're hearing a crunch, and then you see those lights stop. You don't see what's in front of you. Even the headlights can betray you in these types of situations. What is your message to the people in Flagler County? Desperation sets in very quickly when you have no power.
And I understand that. And this goes out to the whole state of Florida. My heart goes out to you. Please be patient. I know everybody wants to get out, look around, do things. This is the most dangerous time for storms. A lot of times people get hurt or even killed after the storm. Please stay where you can, where it's safe. Wait till after the storm and wait till all your communities, especially for us at the EOC here in Flagler County, notifies the people that it's safe to go outside and safe to travel.
All right, Steve, listen, I hope that this storm gets past you sooner rather than later. It is amazing the duration of the impact that we're dealing with this hurricane. Let us know how we can help and be safe.
Thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate it here in Flagler.
You know, Allison, it's one of the basic tensions that happens in a situation like this. People who are out of their homes want to get home. People who are stuck in their homes get desperate to get out of their homes, you know, to deal with the water, to get into it, to see what's going on. And all of those feelings are normal, and they all create major problems.
Right. We just can't emphasize it enough that people need to stay put. The time will come to be able to go home and see what the aftermath looks like. But right now, it is just not safe enough. Chris will be back with you momentarily, because what will we see when the sun rises this morning? How will these communities deal with the damage? By the way, this is live. This is live video we're looking at right now. This is Sumter County, Florida. I mean, you can see just so many places in Florida still in the thick of it. So we're going to speak to the general who commanded the military relief response to Hurricane Katrina. What's he seeing down there this morning? That's next.
I'm lucky to get through a shift without a disaster. My bargain detergent couldn't keep up, so I switched to Tide Pods. They're super concentrated, so I get a better clean.
#1 trusted, #1 awarded. It's gotta be Tide.
You wouldn't do only half of your daily routine, so why treat your mouth any differently? Complete the job with Listerine. Help prevent plaque, early gum disease, bad breath, and kill up to 99.9% of germs. Listerine, bring out the bold.
New York University Abu Dhabi is a research university with a fully integrated liberal arts and sciences college. So our students come from 110 countries.
Storm, you try to put them in the best safe haven you can. In our case, we'll put them in canals or in mangrove creeks with a bunch of ropes on them. And my boats fared very well, and I've heard most of the guys did well with their boats.
So you've been there since, 1984. That means you've been through Hurricane Andrew, Wilma, Charlie. How does this compare?
Well, this was a little different in that it was really about a lot of wind, and it did not hit us directly. The eye did not go over the Upper Keys. It went down toward Key West, which they really got the full force of it. But pretty standard as far as, you know, the tide surge on the ocean, the heavy wind. And really, if you're in a sound house, we were in a big concrete house. It wasn't a mobile home. It wasn't something that was going to be, scary to stay in as far as something happening to it. We were on high ground. So it was really, when you buy a house, you want to think of things if you have storms, right, and if you're going to live there long term, that you're going to be safe.
All right. Randy, glad to hear you and yours are doing well. Thanks so much for sharing some time with us. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Today marks 16 years since the 9/11 attacks in New York City, Washington, D.C., and, of course, Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Nearly 3,000 people died that day.
And this morning, we honor those who lost their lives and those who sacrificed their own lives to save others. Joining us now live from Ground Zero is Fox & Friends Weekend co-host and U.S. Army veteran Pete Hegseth. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning to you both. Of course, we all remember that day. Everyone remembers where they were, a moment that changed our entire nation. And this morning, we're here down at Ground Zero, just outside the Freedom Tower, where this tower stands today, and two towers fell 16 years ago. There will be a memorial ceremony, as there always is here on Ground Zero, memorializing the lives that were lost. And starting at 8:39 a.m. this morning, when they begin reading the names of those 3,000 that were lost on that fateful day, they will take 6 moments of silence when the North Tower was struck, when the South Tower was struck, when the Pentagon was struck, when the events of Flight 93 happened in Shanksville, and then, of course, when both towers fell, they will mark those with moments of silence. A moment that our nation will never forget. And what's so critical about remembering, we think about school kids today in high school. They were 1 or 2 years old when this event happened. If you don't memorialize it, then you forget it. And, of course, a nation here here in our country still at war with radical Islamic terrorism. Here on Fox and Friends this morning, we're going to be talking to Rob O'Neill, the man who killed Osama bin Laden, the man responsible for those attacks that fateful day. A lot of memorializing down here for New Yorkers, certainly something that continues to hit home, and we're honored to be down here on the first time I've been here on this actual day, and it hits me right here as someone who served this country, and I'm glad that Fox News Channel is covering it.
It's always emotional. It's always powerful. Pete Hegseth live for us at Ground Zero this morning. Pete, thanks.
Thanks, Pete. I would encourage anyone that has not been to the 9/11 memorial, definitely go down there. It's something.
Absolutely.
Well, the time now is about 15 minutes until the top of the hour. St. Petersburg, Florida, caught in Irma's crosshairs overnight. We're talking with the chief of fire rescue operations coming up.
Plus, it's not just humans. Manatees are stranded after Hurricane Irma sucks the water out of the sea. But the Good Samaritans stepped in to help save them. We have more on that when we come back.
Make cars fly. I love turning old stuff into something amazing. I want to plant a garden for the whole world.
We grow up, but we never stop dreaming. Here at Coke, we challenge ourselves and the status quo to produce innovations like renewable fuel, more energy-efficient vehicles, and food for all. Because what drives us most is challenge itself.
This is not a cloud. This is a tomato tracked from farm to table on a blockchain, helping keep shoppers safe. This is a financial transaction secure from hacks and threats others can't see. This is a skyscraper whose elevators use IoT data and AI to help thousands get to work safely and efficiently. This is not the cloud you know. This is the IBM Cloud. The IBM Cloud is the cloud for enterprise. Yours.
Destruction across Florida as the historic storm continues its deadly path. We have up-to-the-minute reports. Don't miss our powerful lineup tonight.
Oh my gosh, that's Frank Thomas. No. Yes, that's him. Go ahead. Excuse me, are you Frank Thomas?
Yes, I am.
I bet you get recognized a lot.
I was a pretty good ball player.
You were?
Some people thought so.
Sorry, we recognize you from those Nugenics commercials.
Oh, yeah? That's great.
So does Nugenics really work?
Oh, yeah. I really can feel the difference. My workouts are better, and I feel a lot more energetic.
I wish my husband would use Nugenics.
It's so easy to get started. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Text 55200 and enter STAR for a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And you're going to like the difference, too.
Text 55200 and enter STAR for a complimentary bottle of Nugenics. Samples are not available in stores. Text 55200 and enter STAR.
Look, isn't that Frank Thomas?
Oh, the big hurt.
More like the big hunk.
Yeah.
Wow, Frank Thomas.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. You look like you could still be playing. That's what I said.
Well, I am feeling stronger and leaner. So, Frank, what's your secret? I discovered Nugenics.
I wish my husband did.
It's easy. Just send a text.
If you're a guy over 40, text 55400 and enter the word FIRM to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Nugenics is a unique man-boosting formula powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help boost your free testosterone levels, to help you feel stronger, leaner, with more energy and drive, more passion, too.
Here, try a bottle. And trust me, she'll like it, too.
Text 55400 and enter FIRM to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenics. Samples are not available in stores, so text 55400 and enter FIRM.
Welcome back. A heroic rescue caught on camera. Unbelievable footage showing deputies on a risky mission to rescue two people who decided to ride out the storm, of course, in a boat.
On a boat? Come on. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7. Sirius XM 115 is here with the incredible details. Carly.
Good morning, Heather and Todd. You know, if you want to see the impact of the storm, look no further than social media, which is inundated with pictures and videos that shows what happens when a storm of this size rips through several major major cities. And as you can imagine, it is not good. And then, of course, there are the inevitable rescue efforts. What you're looking at right now is shocking video that shows a couple being rescued after they tried to ride out the storm on a boat. Now, why they decided to do that beats the heck out of me, but rescuers were forced to enter Jensen Beach in Martin County, Florida, just as the storm was making landfall. These rescue workers should have never been put in this situation, but that rescue attempt was successful. Everybody is okay, so good news on that front. Now, one of the most surprising things about this storm is that the winds were so strong that it actually sucked the water away from the shoreline, but that left a lot of animals in a pretty tough spot, like this manatee who was left stranded on the shoreline. So a bunch of people got together and they tried to rescue that little guy. They were successful in doing just that. So a lot of people are, praising this rescue attempt on social media. Trying to Heal says so many good souls looking out for our human and animal neighbors during Irma. And Lamb on social media also chimed in saying thank you to all who are helping the animals affected by Hurricane Irma. Now, despite the storm's devastating side effects, some people are just determined to go on with their lives, like these two rescue workers who were supposed to get married next week. They were instead sent to Florida, so they decided to get married yesterday in a rush ceremony in their uniforms. Now, here's why they decided to make that sacrifice. Take a listen.
Service before self. That's what we go by. So we take care of the citizens first before ourselves.
Yeah. Amazing story there. So that is Lauren Dunham and Michael Davis of the Air National Guard. A lot of people are praising and thanking them on social media. Todd and Heather, back to you.
Carly, thank you. Love that story.
Yeah.
Best story of the week.
Thank you, Carly.
Thanks a lot.
Time now, 52 minutes after the hour now. St. Petersburg caught in Irma's crosshairs overnight. Up next, the chief of fire rescue operations fills us in on what comes next.
And our Fox and Friends First live storm coverage continues up next.
I just want to find a used car without getting ripped off.
Start at thenewcarfax.com.
Show me used trucks with one owner.
Pretty cool.
Show me the Carfax.
Start your used car search at theallnewcarfax.com.
Career politicians and the media trying to stop him. But President Trump is fighting for America. Over 1 million new jobs. Companies investing billions in America. Stock market reaching all-time record highs. Our border more secure. Cracking down on MS-13. Our economy winning again. Americans working again. Our country strong again. Americans are saying, let President Trump do his job and make America great again.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Can I get some help?
Whatever they went through together.
Welcome, guys.
Life well planned. See what a Raymond James financial advisor can do for you.
Pack for any occasion with Joseph A. Bank Super Tuesday sale and save up to 70% store-wide. Executive suits $199. Best-selling traveler shirts $3 for $99. Plus, take an extra 50% off clearance items. The Super Tuesday sale, only at Joseph A. Bank.
BP developed new, industry-leading software to monitor drilling operations in real time, so our engineers can solve problems with the most precise data at their fingertips. Because safety is never being satisfied and always working to be better.
If your credit card debt is out of control, if you're in over your head in monthly payments, there's a secret the credit card companies don't want you to know. If you have more than $5,000 in credit card debt, you have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. That's bad news for the credit card companies, but it's great news for you. We're Credit Associates, and we're offering you free information on how to virtually eliminate your credit card debt with a monthly payment you can afford. To see how much you could save, call now. 1-800-617-2977. Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. Give us 10 minutes and we could save you thousands. After all, we depend on your success and offer a guarantee so there's no risk. Credit Associates. Live better, debt-free. Find out how easy it is by calling now. Because a secret the credit card companies don't want you to know? Call Credit Associates now and see how much money you could save for free. Call 1-800-617-2977.
Introducing the new Range Rover Velar. Land Rover, above and beyond.
When we moved, we didn't have anything, so we used OfferUp, a free app that let us find awesome things our neighbors were selling. It was a great way to furnish our home and get to know our new city.
Now we have lots of furniture and a lot of new friends, too.
OfferUp is free to use. Find anything you want nearby.
Welcome back. 3 minutes before the top of the hour, and we continue with a Fox News alert. All eyes on Hurricane Irma. Right there on the left-hand side of your screen, you see the current track of the storm, and on the right-hand side, Tampa, Florida, one of the areas that, with the new projections that we heard over the course of the last 48 hours, was projected to get hit hard, and you can see right there, it did.
Wind damage and storm damage, or storm surge, two of the things that everyone continues to watch. We heard our own Janice Dean mention the number of people who are now without power in the state of Florida. It has gone from 3.3 to 5.5 million people without power in that state. The impacts of Irma being felt from coast to coast.
All of this as the storm itself was downgraded to a Category 1, but you've heard all of our meteorologists, from Adam Klotz to Rick Reichmuth to Janice Dean just a few moments ago, saying just because you hear that word downgraded doesn't mean the folks there are out of the woods. As the sun does come up there in Florida, people are going to want to go out and survey the damage. Every single meteorologist that says, please be very careful. If you choose to do that, the best course of action is to stay inside until the storm fully gets out of the area.
Yeah, stay at home because it is dangerous. We know that at this point, at least 28 deaths across the Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico have been reported. And then there were 2 deaths. Officers responding to the scenes there in Monroe County in the Florida Keys areas have also died as well as a result of Irma.
Tampa and St. Petersburg in the crosshairs overnight. We have seen some tough images coming out of that area. And we spoke with Griff Jenkins, who is in Naples, and it seemed that Naples really got hit with both the wind and that storm surge. It's a tough scene down there in Naples. You can see the overhead shot right there. That clearly is the flooding and the storm surge damage. But then in Griff's live shots, we heard the wind picking up throughout the course of the morning. And Griff compared the situation there to Houston. He was in both.
He said, been both places.
Storm surge, obviously much worse in Houston, but the wind really bad there in Florida.
Yeah, Naples being the second landfall of Irma. The first landfall Sunday morning happened in the Florida Keys as a Cat 4. Luckily, it has been downgraded significantly. Miami Beach, Miami itself, also on lockdown. Unfortunately, we've seen scenes coming out of Miami of looters already impacting that area.
Obviously, storm coverage continues throughout the morning and throughout the day here on the Fox News Channel. But if you look at your calendar, you know today is a special day, nonetheless, a day that will go down in American history, will never be forgotten. That day, of course, is September 11th, and Fox and Friends will be live from Ground Zero for the next 3 hours, bringing you coverage of the always somber but always very important memorial from Ground Zero.
Also a day that brought Americans across the country together as we continue to be brought together dealing with Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma as well. Stay with us all morning long.
Fox and Friends starts right now.
Bye-bye. Hurricane Irma battering Florida, bringing more wind, rain, and damage.
The storm now downgraded to a Category 1 storm, but the danger is not over yet.
We're still out here on the along the Gulf, and I'll tell you, the backside of this is the backside of the storm.
It is whipping off of there now. Whoa, this is pretty intense.
Wherever Hurricane Irma goes, we'll be there first.
I want everybody to survive this storm. As you know, we can't send out first responders to save you, so everybody needs to be cautious.
President Trump vowing to head to Florida in the wake of Hurricane Irma.
We'll go to Florida very soon. I mean, the bad news is that this is some big monster, but I think we're very well coordinated.
Hurricane Irma packing a powerful punch, still punishing Florida at this hour as it climbs up the coast.
All right, the monster storm's violent fury unleashing a devastating strike, forcing the Sunshine State to go dark, and that's the way it is right now with the sun down, leaving millions, by the way, without power at this hour, up to 4 million.
Irma's lengthy assault, packed with winds over 100 miles per hour, toppled construction cranes, turned streets into raging rivers, and ripping off roofs. A lot of them.
5 seconds.
Wow, they caught that on camera. The massive storm blamed for at least 5 deaths, including 2 police officers down in Florida as Hurricane Irma surges north. Its path of destruction now sparking rapidly rising life-threatening water levels, storm surges that could climb up to 15 feet.
10 to 15 feet of storm surge. You know, I don't know how anybody survives that. Pray. I don't see prayer as a last resort. It should always be a first resort.
We're literally pushing up against the window to prevent it from possibly breaking in.
Okay, as Irma's multi-day siege rages on, we've got live team coverage across Florida, from Miami all the way north to Tampa.
Most of the state now waiting for the sun to come up so we can see the damage. In Naples, Florida, people got hammered and some are still underwater. 90% of the people there are waking up without electricity. Griff Jenkins has battery power and he joins us live with the breaking details unfolding at this hour from Naples. Griff?
Yeah.
Well, I said he had battery power, but apparently there was a problem with the satellite. We'll try to get back to him in just a minute.
Right. There is, of course, the fact that he could be giving us a silent treatment. We won't find out till after the show. Go ahead.
Griff is there in Naples, but we also have Brian Yunus. He's in Coral Way, which is in the Miami area. I think we're going to check in with him now. Good morning.
Good morning. Coral Way is one of the many suburbs in Miami just outside of downtown dealing with pitch black out conditions. Take a look once we take off this light, what it's like out here. You see that? That is what people are dealing with right now. And this is also what people are dealing with. Down trees. You look over here. This is also on my left over here, Guy. We've got down power lights and power lines that go all the way there, blocking traffic. And this is why there is a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew overnight, because, frankly, it's dangerous. As a matter of fact, here it is. Here's a car right now. Watch out. This is what's happening. People are now leaving shelters and finally trying to get home, and they're driving in these kinds of conditions. Before this, we saw a bus that was meant to go pick up utility workers. Remember, 43% of Floridians right now are without power. There are 17,000 utility workers from outside this area that need to start working on these things. One bus got stuck in this very intersection right now, so it's a problem that's all over the place. Before that, obviously, this storm in Miami, although the eye was 130 miles away, we felt it really hard, 90 to 100 mile an hour gusts in some places. We had panels flying off of buildings. The tallest building in Miami, while we were reporting just last night, there was giant 6-foot glass panels flying off of the building and onto the ground. A very dangerous situation. There was also flooding in Brickell and in downtown from the storm surge, which has since receded. And on top of all of that, guys, we also have, unfortunately, looters. Video of looters in a Foot Locker, unbelievably, taking advantage of this situation. And then but the Miami Police Department has been making patrols in this neighborhood and in all neighborhoods to make sure that the 600,000 plus Miami-Dade citizens here who evacuated because of the storm aren't taken advantage of while their homes are vacant. So there have been tons of patrols. And the Miami Police Department sending out a tweet with the photos of some of the looters that they caught and arrested, some 28 already, and they're warning others that they're coming after you and looking for you if you plan on taking advantage of the storm victims. But again, people are dying to get home. We understand that. But their rescue crews, the recovery crews here in terms of debris and the cleanup crews have yet to do their work because it's been pitch black, and it's only been a few hours since those winds have come down. And so that's the situation here in neighborhoods all throughout South Florida as I look at another vehicle trying to get past It's just not safe, guys.
Hey, Brian, what was the bus stuck on? Were they just concerned because it was a down power line? What was the bus stuck on?
So look, the bus was trying to get to Fort Lauderdale to pick up utility workers, and he was stuck on this. I mean, this traffic light, which fell. Yeah. And the reason why it's on the ground is because it got entangled in that. You can see from my flashlight. And so the bus, trying to figure out a way out of this neighborhood, got entangled on that. And so you could imagine, look, even the buses that are trying to actually restore power are the ones that are also getting stuck. So that's what we're dealing with here, guys.
It's just scary because you don't know what lines to pick up. You don't want to get electrocuted while you're trying to...
Can't see anything.
You can't.
You
You're
can't.
right. How about those looters? Were any of them arrested?
A couple dozen.
Yeah, 28 of them were.
Yeah.
We had at least 28 looters. In terms of the Foot Locker, I'm unsure if any from that video were actually arrested.
Got it. Well, their faces are on camera, so police officers will know who they are.
All right.
Ridiculous.
Thank you very much, Brian. Now let's move on. Matt Finn picks up our live team coverage in St. Pete Beach on the west side of the great state of Florida. Matt?
Yeah, there's still tropical storm force winds here. Right now, I'm standing in the courtyard of a very sturdy hotel, but if I were to step outside of this courtyard, you would be able to see the violent whipping winds that are still happening right now and very strong soaking rain. There are still a lot of downed lines around here, tens of thousands without power. The sun is not up, so we are not able to see or survey the damage, but the hotel owner here sent me some pictures overnight of a lot of his fellow business owners who have seen some damage at hotels and businesses in this area. And as the sun comes up and high tide approaches, which we are inching closer to that, we are expecting a storm surge combined with the high tide, so we could expect to see water rise 2 to 4 feet, but not near that 6 to 9 inches that was potentially could have happened, which would have been catastrophic in this area. You know, we always report on bad news, but fortunately right now at this hour, no catastrophic damage in this area, no terrible flooding here at St. Pete. Overnight, tens of thousands of people in this area lost power, and unfortunately some utility companies had to stop their recovery efforts because they say it was just too dangerous for their guys to be out here. Police also telling us that once the winds hit 40 miles an hour here, which that happened yesterday, it was just too dangerous for them to send out their officers and their rescuers, and it seems like we're definitely seeing winds over 40 miles an hour right now. So unfortunately, anybody who's dialing 911 or seeking help might not receive it. As the sun comes up in this area, I'm sure we'll be able to show you guys much more in the 7 o'clock hour here from St. Pete Beach. Back to you in New York.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt.
All right. Meanwhile, 8 minutes now after the top of the hour.
Jillian Neely, she started our coverage last week down in Miami Beach, and now she is in Tampa. Jillian, how are things looking there? They were expecting a lot of flooding. Do you see any of that?
I will say, we're not seeing a ton of flooding. Right here, we've got a little bit of, localized street flooding on the corner. It's not significant. I would agree with what Matt Finn is saying, but we have seen a little bit of it. We've been driving around throughout the morning. We are right now along Bayshore Boulevard. We were over on Davis Island earlier this morning. We have not seen any homes damaged by flooding. I'm not saying that that's the case everywhere. I'm just telling you what we've seen so far this morning, but I'll tell you what we're seeing a lot of. You're seeing a lot of downed trees throughout the area. You're seeing a lot of debris, a lot of downed palm trees. You drive up a street and then all of a sudden you have to stop and turn around because this is the situation. So I think a lot of people are going to wake up in Tampa feeling a bit relieved. We did not have, the center that what was left anyway of the eye of that storm that did not hit here in Tampa last night. So I think a lot of people are feeling very good about that. But still, the sun's not up here yet. So people are going to be coming out as the morning goes on to try and look at the damage either at their home or on their street. And the thing is, we actually have seen so many police officers driving up and down this street. Every time a new one drives by, they stop and they ask us if we're okay. So police are out there trying to make sure that everybody is safe. It's still not safe to come outside your home just yet, guys.
That's right. All right, Jillian, thank you very much. And also because so many homes are unprotected. So many folks are out of town, they got to make sure that nobody goes in and tries to take something.
What strikes me about Tampa is when you drive across those bridges, the water almost looks at the bridge line. I always said to myself, anytime there's a storm, people must get nervous.
It's just a few feet above sea level. And Janice Dean, that was the worry. As the coast, the west coast of the storm went up the coast, would the storm surge overwhelm them?
Right, and we're still dealing with storm surge in Jacksonville. They set a storm surge record over 4 feet. So the east coast of Florida is feeling this as well. I just want to point out, normally I wouldn't want to tell you about this. We have another tropical system. This is a hurricane, and we don't quite know where it's going to go. So this will be the next one we watch. This is Jose, and as you can see, it meanders for the next 5 days. But some of the tropical models are showing, perhaps an east coast impact. Landfalls yesterday around 9:10, Cujo Key, and then we had another landfall, Marco Island, 115 mile per hour sustained winds. That was a major hurricane. Some of the wind gusts in Naples, 142 miles per hour. I mean, devastation there in the Naples area. And Marco Island, 130 mile per hour sustained wind, or rather gusts. Tornado threat will be ongoing today because of the right-hand side of this storm. We've seen many tornado-warned storms yesterday and now today for North Florida. We had an earlier tornado-warned storm north of Jacksonville, but that tornado threat is going to be ongoing through Georgia and the Carolinas. So widespread effects, even though this storm is weakening, still a Category 1 moving across North Florida, but the effects will be felt well past the center of this storm. Tropical storm force winds extending 220 miles from the center of the storm, and hurricane force winds likely 80 miles from the center. And you can see we're still going to be dealing with this into Tuesday, and then it becomes a remnant low and just kind of sits and spins across the Tennessee River Valley. There's the radar right now. You can see the core of the strongest winds right here. And then we also have the offshore flow. So Tampa, you're still going to get the potential for heavy rain and that storm surge moving in. It won't be the incredible storm surge amounts that we were predicting yesterday, but still a very vulnerable coastline and the potential for, water levels to rise. Future radar shows this storm system moving north and westward into Atlanta, Georgia. For the first time in history, Atlanta, Georgia is under a tropical storm warning. That's incredible. And we could actually see the potential for hurricane force winds moving into parts of Georgia and the Carolinas. There are your rainfall totals. Obviously, this is not a Harvey story like we saw in Houston, but still incredible rainfall totals of over a foot of rain, the potential for upwards of 4 to 6 inches. So flash flooding is going to be a concern throughout the day. And then Georgia and, of course, the Carolinas watching the threat for tornadoes and the storm surge threat as well, not only for the West Coast, but the East Coast, because this storm is so large, guys. We're going to be watching it throughout the day today as it continues to weaken, but still widespread impacts all along the southeast coastline.
Pretty much everybody who's awake right now in the eastern third of the United States is going to wind up with rain.
And I read 45% of the state of Florida has no power.
How long does that normally take for them to turn that back on? A week, or
it
could be very,
on the
like
of the damage.
Places like the Keys inundated with rainfall. It could take months.
Indeed. All right, Janice, thank you very much.
We have lots of viewers in the state of Georgia that are waking up. So a lot of rain. You can expect a lot of rain today. Anything worse? Anything else that we need to, Janice?
No.
Lots of rain. Folks, so keep us posted.
Regarding Florida Power and Light, which has got so many subscribers and customers out of electricity this morning, we're going to have somebody who is either their public information officer or a vice president with us in about 20 minutes so they can give us the lowdown.
Really. Meanwhile, 13 minutes now after the hour, we went to Griff Jenkins a little bit earlier, and a shot froze in Naples, Florida. And Griff, are you able to hear us now?
I can hear you, Brian. I'd never give you the silent treatment. And, if I could just add on, Ainsley's asking about, how long it's going to take. The CEO of Florida Power and Light said a few days ago when we were in Miami in anticipation of this event, said this is likely going to be the most difficult power restoration in the country. Florida Power and Light is the third largest utility. And here in Naples, Collier County Emergency Management telling us 90% of this area has no power. The streets are impassable. Power lines, palm trees, pools of standing water. There are rising floodwaters, although the storm surge seems to be only a foot or two based on our limited ability to assess it. But it is very much a serious issue, a catastrophically dangerous situation to wake up now and get into. The curfew here in Naples has just lifted. It was 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. But as people are waking up, the authorities, guys, are telling people to stay sheltered in your place. And if you were evacuated, absolutely do not try and get on these roads and get back to your property to assess it, because it's a dangerous situation right now.
All right. Thanks so much, Griff. We'll see. And a lot of those people in Naples, they pretty much were hit first and were relatively surprised. So if you told people on Thursday Naples is going to get slammed, they're going to say, no, it's really on the east side. Ends up by the weekend. Yeah, by the weekend, it ends up being Naples.
Several of our reporters that were down there in South Florida over the weekend, I was watching the coverage, and they were comparing it to Hurricane Harvey that they had all just been through. And they were saying, thankfully, this was not nearly as bad, and it was quick moving. So it didn't, Harvey just sat there forever and pounded
back a couple of times.
Well, the hurricane force winds were much stronger. This was one of the strongest hurricanes of all time, but Harvey just went out and stopped over Texas.
So Harvey was more about water.
It was all about the water.
More about wind.
The rain became the flood, became the surge.
So, go ahead, Steve.
Meanwhile, in Palm Beach County on the East Coast, Deputy Danny Cunningham saved an American flag battered by the hurricane, claiming he just couldn't bear to watch it get blown apart. So what did he do? He got out of his car and he did the best he could.
Oh, that's great.
So we saw a lot of the water retreat, and when the water retreated, it exposed a lot of sea animals, one of which was a manatee who was stranded by Hurricane Irma after the water got sucked to sea. The rescuers quickly sprung into action despite the rain and winds. They threw tarps on it, dragging it to deeper waters, so I guess the manatee lives.
Isn't that great? They're actually, and there was another manatee there, too, that they thought wasn't living because they said it wasn't breathing.
Well, they
ended up dragging both of them over to the water, and they both swam away. So thankfully, they were both still alive.
It was a crazy situation there in Sarasota Bay because of the super low pressure, the water just disappeared, and it exposed those critters.
You know I love love stories. This is another great love story in camouflage.
There were two National Guard members, and they were supposed to get married. She was gonna wear the big poofy white dress. She had everything situated. She had a cake and all of that. Well, they were deployed. Their bosses said, listen, you're with the Air National Guard. You need to get out there and help the people of Florida. So they said, okay, what should we do? And they were sitting around talking with a bunch of their friends. Someone said, I'll open up these folding chairs, put out these chairs. Someone else said, I have some orange flowers. So they gave her the orange flowers. She didn't wear the dress, and they ended up getting hitched. They got married right then and there on the spot.
Michael Davis and Lauren Dunham are now married. Their families must be disappointed. They planned, they registered, they had the church, they were set, and next thing you know, they got deployed. Their term was, their mantra is, as many is, service before self, including their own marriage. So they do not know how their family's going to react to their marriage in Florida.
He said, I think they'll get over it. He said, we're surrounded by a bunch of our friends. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, but this is going to be a really cool story for our kids.
Absolutely. I bet they have another marriage just when they have the time because they probably already booked all the stuff. They had the outfits, although in that one, everybody was dressed the same.
His best friend in the Guard happens to be a notary. A notary, is that how you say it? Notary?
Notary Republic.
And so, he was able to officiate the service for them.
Terrific.
A notary can marry you?
Yes.
Didn't know that.
Wow.
I knew a man who did that, and he would charge like $75 and come on over into my living room, and I'll marry you.
Or maybe it's a justice of the peace.
Right.
I read an article saying he was a notary.
I'll be darned. Suddenly, those people who do my taxes can also...
Maybe it's different in every state.
Maybe. Meanwhile, residents in Tampa still under a mandatory curfew as emergency crews get ready to hit the ground this morning.
So what's the damage assessment as of now? Let's ask Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn. He joins us live right now. Good morning to you, Mayor. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thanks.
So what's the latest there in Tampa?
Well, we've got all of our crews out there assessing the damage. Our police officers and fire rescue personnel have been on the street since about 2 o'clock. All of those reports are coming to this office behind me. So we're trying to get a feel for what it looks like. We know that there's a lot of limbs down. There's a lot of power outages and telephone poles that are down. There is not much standing water, thankfully. But yet the surge is still ready to come, and we have not hit high tide. So we have people pre-positioned to notify us, but so far it's looking much better than we anticipated.
Mr. Mayor, in New York City, they have these monitors where you can see almost every block from a command center. How is Tampa situated in terms of cameras? What are you able to see from where you are?
We can see an awful lot. As a matter of fact, we installed those. The last time I was with you was during the Republican National Convention. So there are big parts of the city that we can see. But once you get internal to the neighborhoods where the power is out, we have no camera ability. If it's clear, I'm going to get up in a helicopter to assess the damage. We'll be running drones over the city to check which neighborhoods have been impacted. But so far, I really do think that the gods were smiling on us, and we missed a really, really serious storm that could have devastated this city.
Sure. Let's just now you just have to worry about that storm surge. Bob, before you go, how much of your town is out of juice?
We don't know yet. We do know there are large sections based on eyeballs being laid on those neighborhoods as the police officers move through them. I couldn't give you a percentage. I would have a better feel around daylight. There is a curfew in place, and we want people to stay put for a while until we're able to get in and clear the streets, make sure there's no live wires out there. We want people home as soon as possible, but we also want to be safe.
Well, you've got a very busy day. Thank you very much for spending a couple of minutes with us.
Yes.
The mayor of the great city of Tampa, Bob Buckhorn. Good luck, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, coming up straight ahead. The Trump administration ready to respond and help Florida recover from this monster storm like they did Texas. Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke joins us with a preview of those efforts. A lot will be on his shoulders. Back in a moment.
This program is brought to you by USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of current and former military members and their families.
Mike and I are both veterans, both served in the Navy. I do outrank my husband, not just being in the military, but at home.
She thinks she's the boss. She only had me by 1 grade. We bought our first home together in 2010.
His family had used another insurance product, but I was like, I've had USAA for a while. Why don't we call and check the rates?
It was an instant savings, and I should have changed a long time ago.
There's no point in looking elsewhere, really. We're the Tennies, and we're USAA members for life.
USAA. Get your insurance quote today.
You're a brave man, Mr. Stevens. Your testimony will save lives. Mr. Stevens, this is your new name. This is your new house and a perfectly inconspicuous SUV. You must become invisible.
I'll take my chances.
To most people, I look like most people. But on the inside, I feel chronic, widespread pain. Fibromyalgia may be invisible to others, but my pain is real.
Fibromyalgia is thought to be caused by overactive nerves. Lyrica is believed to calm these nerves.
I'm glad my doctor prescribed Lyrica.
For some, Lyrica delivers effective relief for moderate to even severe fibromyalgia pain and improves function. Lyrica may cause serious allergic reactions, suicidal thoughts, or actions. Tell your doctor right away if you have these, new or worse depression, unusual changes in mood or behavior, swelling, trouble breathing, rash, hives, blisters, muscle pain with fever, tired feeling, or blurry vision. Common side effects: dizziness, sleepiness, weight gain, swelling of hands, legs, and feet. Don't drink alcohol while taking Lyrica. Don't drive or use machinery until you know how Lyrica affects you. Those who've had a drug or alcohol problem may be more likely to misuse Lyrica.
With less pain, I can do more with my family.
Talk to your doctor today. See if Lyrica can help.
18 years ago, I started this company to make computers run faster. When my dad and my wife were infected with an early ransomware, we built the only whitelist security right here in the USA to block threats that the others couldn't. We proved it in public security tests and scored the first and only 100% detection rate in the history of the Virus Bulletin RAP test. Millions have responded. Thank you for believing in us. My kid's school was infected with ransomware. Our mission is to provide state-of-the-art security for homes, businesses, school systems, government agencies, MSPs, and resellers against ransomware, scripting attacks, polymorphic viruses, and zero-day threats. Our business software combines superior security, easy installation, a single pane of glass, remote login, and policy management. The cybersecurity revolution starts with you. Put an end to ransomware. Get PCmatic, America's antivirus.
The White House kicking into high gear to see the state through this latest hurricane disaster.
Joining us right now with more is U.S. Secretary of the Interior and retired Navy SEAL Commander Ryan Zinke. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure this was one of the big topics on the table at Camp David when the president convened his cabinet there over the weekend.
Well, that was a big topic, and leave the neighborhood behind. We have devastation starting with the territories. Virgin Islands got especially hit. And listening earlier about the power, this likely a rebuild We're not sure that we can repair the power grid in the Virgin Islands. Of course, today we'll look at the assessment of the Keys as it goes up. Fortunately, looks like Tampa and the upper part of Florida was not hit as hard as we thought. But certainly the president's focus is leave no neighborhood behind. And let's not forget about the forest fires out west. Still a lot of communities that are under threat. Very few fires are contained to the point where we can keep our eye off the ball.
Yeah, we see that you're going to be rushing $221 million over to the U.S. Virgin Islands, because a lot of them, they were saying over the weekend, they feel kind of ignored, but that's going to change once you get them that money, as well as Puerto Rico. But I also noticed that you're in Shanksville, and you're in Shanksville on 9/11. And before you became congressman and secretary, you were in the military. I'm just curious, Mr. Secretary, where were you on 9/11, and what are your thoughts today, 16 years later?
Well, I was actually a SEAL instructor in 9/11, and I saw when the plane hit, like many Americans, that America's going to change, and we have changed. And you're right, today the Vice President is in Shanksville. We're visiting the Flight 93 National Monument, and I can tell you they're heroes. This is an example of America sticking together. And likely the actions of the passengers and crew of Flight 93 prevented, of probably a strike on the Capitol. We had a joint session in Congress at the time. But they're heroes, and this monument, if you have not seen it, drive out and take a look at it. It's magnificently designed, magnificently done, and it's an example of how public-private partnerships, community, the national park system, all working together to commemorate, I would think, American heroes.
Mr. Secretary, you and the Vice President will be there today. What can we expect? What are you going to be doing there?
Well, today is really a memorial for the 40 passengers. We're gonna talk to the families that were here. We were here yesterday dedicating a chime, which 40 chimes, design of it, shovel, groundbreaking for that portion of the monument. But really reflecting on how great this country is, the sacrifices we've made, and also talking about the change that 9/11 brought to Americans.
Do you worry 100 years from now someone's going to try to take that memorial down like they're trying to remake our memorials today?
Well, I'm one that believes that we should learn from history, and I think our monuments are part of our country's history. We can learn. Since we don't put up statues of Jesus, everyone's going to fall morally short. And I think reflecting on our history, both good and bad, is a powerful statement and part of our DNA. So I'm an advocate of again, learning from our monuments, understanding the period they were made, but also is we live in a great country, and monuments are not Republican, Democrat, Independent. The monuments are a tribute to all of us.
And the observances there in Shanksville start just a couple of hours from right now. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for joining us on this September the 11th, 16 years later.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for being there with those families.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Hurricane Irma still pummeling Florida's Gulf Coast this morning. That's where Jeff Flock is live this morning. Jeff, wow, lots of wind.
Yeah, it keeps coming, and this is still Cat 1, and the storm surge keeps coming too. We're not done with this thing yet. Just a minute, we'll take you down to the edge of the Gulf. The storm surge coming in still on the Barrier Islands. Stay tuned.
Hey, hon. We gotta go. Come on.
Principal, we can help you plan for that.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Maybe it's time for Otezla, a Premolast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable after just 4 months, with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla, show more of you.
It can detect a threat using AI and respond 60 times faster. It lets you know where your data lives down to the very server. It keeps your insights from prying eyes so they're used by no one else but you. It is the cloud. The IBM cloud. The cloud that's built for your business, designed for your data. Secure to the core. The IBM cloud is the cloud for enterprise, yours.
Visit your Acura dealer for 1.9% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on the 2018 TLX.
Marie Callender knows that a homemade turkey dinner can make anyone slow down and pull up a seat to the table. That's why she takes the time to season her turkey to perfection and make stuffing from scratch, so that you can spend time on what really matters. Marie Callender's, it's time to savor.
So I think I got to get my roof repaired. You know anybody?
Yeah, actually I might.
Yeah, great. Can you do a free background check on them, get me some additional quotes, and book it for 2 weeks from now?
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So to find and book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
We are back right now with the Fox News Alert and the latest on Hurricane Irma. Monster storm climbing up Florida's west coast over the last day after blasting through the Keys about this time yesterday.
Yeah, you know, we haven't really seen much of the Keys as the sun comes up. Damage assessments beginning in some areas as police warn residents to stay inside until they get the all clear.
Jeff Flock picks up our live team coverage. He's in Madeira Beach. Jeff, what's the latest there?
Well, as you can see, we're still getting pretty heavy conditions here. And the scary thing about this, we're on the weak side of the storm, and this is the back side of the storm. It's already past us here, but that means that now it's coming right off the Gulf. We just found this sign here. Look at the sign is down here. I don't know what it says. Ha! Look at that. Strong current. Danger. No joke. This is the storm surge now. Coming in. You know, we weren't getting surge yesterday, and not only weren't we getting surge, we were getting a sucking effect of the water out of the bays and out of this pass that maybe you can't see because it's dark, but all the water got sucked out of it. Well, now, as you can see, that's what they call storm surge. It is now surging back in because we're getting we're getting the wind right from the Gulf, right from the west, as the storm comes through and it counter-rotates, it counterclockwise rotates. Now we're getting it right in the face off the. It's pushing this water. I don't know, Bob, can you walk over here with me? It's pushing the water through this pass and into the bays. So listen, we're not done with this yet. It's not going to be as catastrophic as it was in the Keys by any means, or even in Naples. But I tell you, we're not done with this storm yet. It's still wailing pretty good, as you can see.
It is indeed. It's still a Category 1. And, Jeff, do they have any estimate now what the storm surge might be? Because they had said it might be 5 or 10 feet, which would be a big problem.
It would be a problem. I don't think we're going to get that intensity because, again, we're on the back side of the storm. But at the same time, you know, as you can see, I don't know, Bob's, you come up. Oh, whoa, that's sand there. I don't know if he can get up here. Can you get up on top of it, Bob? If you can, will you show me other? Oh, there you are. Sorry. There you go. I got your hand. Okay. Yeah, he's up on his knees. Sorry. But look, here's the surge coming into the rocks here. Now, typically, yesterday, you could see sand out there. Now, you can see water. This is where it typically would be. But we're just now starting to get the surge in here. So where it goes from here, I don't know. As I said, I don't think, Steve, it'll be as intense as if we had gotten a direct hit from this, since this is the backside.
Jeff,
But it's
Jeff,
still
what about
coming
high
pretty good.
tide? Has it already?
Yeah, that's this morning. That's
Okay.
the other factor. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the other factor. We're expecting high tide here between 6 and 9, depending on where exactly you are along the coast in the Tampa Bay area. And just so you know, for those who don't know what Madeira Beach is, this is a barrier island that is off St. Pete, which is, of course, east of Tampa. So Tampa is actually a little bit protected. It's these barrier islands that are going to take the bulk of the crap here.
How did you get there? Is there a bridge?
Yeah, well, there are bridges, and you probably can't see it because it's behind me, but there's a bridge that goes from Madeira Beach across to Treasure Island, for those who may know the geography down here. And there are bridges to all of this. Those bridges, even though they cut them off to regular folks, fools like us, they'll let us in. So, yeah, the bridges are open.
The bridges are open, and so is Jeff Flock describing what's going on down there in Madeira Beach in the Tampa St. Pete area.
Right. Jeff, it's okay to put your hood on now. Thank you very much.
I kept trying, but it kept blowing off.
So nice to see that. Everyone knows someone that lives in Florida, our friends and family that are from that area. They all have questions, Janice, about how is this going to affect their houses. One of my best friends lives right there in that area, outside of Clearwater.
And that's why if you live in Florida and there's a lot of very low-lying areas, especially along the West Coast, you have to know your surroundings, right? You have to know where you are on the sea level, if you have a storm surge, or what the flooding is like. Are you near a floodplain? Are you near a river? So that's why it's really important that if you move somewhere, you have to know your surroundings. If you're hit by a hurricane, know your evacuation route. So I just want to show you Tampa. What Jeff was talking about is the backside of this storm. So you can see that outer band that's now pushing into Tampa. So this is onshore flow. Yesterday, we had offshore flow, and we were seeing those pictures of the bay being pushed out, which was fascinating. But now the bay is coming back with these onshore winds. Also, we're getting the push of surge across portions of North Florida now, and the Carolinas and Georgia, where it's very vulnerable. So this is a widespread storm that's going to affect a lot of folks. Also want to make mention not only the surge, which is going to be, the biggest story really out of this storm. I mean, the Keys were completely underwater yesterday, parts of South Florida, especially the southwest side. We're going to continue to see damage reports from there. But the tornado threat is going to be ongoing as well. We saw many tornado reports yesterday all up and down the east coast of Florida. And this is the path of the storm. We'll get another update from the Hurricane Center at 8 o'clock. But you can see it is weakening. It is over land. The reason why we won't get the incredible storm surge totals that we were predicting yesterday is because the storm has moved more inland. If it was more offshore and in that warm water, we'd potentially be seeing higher storm surge totals. Not to say that it's not going to be a big event. It will be. But thankfully, as the storm has moved northward, it has lessened. And now the storm is weakening, which is great news. However, not out of the woods. We've got folks in Florida, close to 5 million people without power. And the tropical storm force winds are going to extend into Georgia, Alabama, even the Tennessee River Valley over the next couple of days, with the potential for flooding. So there's the radar. And you can see, again, the backside of that storm moving into central Florida, including Tampa. We've got the most powerful winds here in North Florida, just heading into Jacksonville. And the center of Florida is looking good right now. But again, you're going to see the backside of those outer bands moving in. Hurricane warnings still in effect for parts of North and Central Florida up towards Georgia. And they have discontinued them, thankfully, for South Florida. But as the storm moves north and westward, we have the tropical storm force winds. And for the first time, I mean, this is historic to see a tropical storm warning for Atlanta, Georgia. In terms of winds, hurricane force winds still potentially could be felt as far south as Fort Myers, and then hurricane force gusts right here. My bad. Tropical storm force winds felt as far south as Fort Myers, but we could see hurricane force gusts certainly for North and Central Florida into Georgia, and then moving into Georgia and Alabama, the potential for tropical storm force gusts on Monday. And then as we get into Tuesday, thankfully, things will diminish. Power outage index, I mean, close to 5 million, over 5 million people in Florida don't have power, but that's going to extend into the southeast as well. So even though the storm is diminishing and weakening, the effects are still going to be so widespread for the next 24 to 48 hours. Back to you, Steve.
And Janice, don't forget how air travel has been disrupted right
most
now.
Definitely.
These are the airports that are closed in Florida: Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, Sanford, which is near Orlando, Sarasota, Tampa, and West Palm Beach.
So all of them, basically.
And, of course, if you've got delays or cancellations in Florida, that's going to impact the rest of the country as
Right.
well.
And I don't know who would think they're going to be getting in a plane after what we've been witnessing over the last few days. And hopefully these airlines are not going to charge people when they change their flights.
Well, that's why we need to be on top of that, too.
Janice, can you explain something to us? Well, watching this water go out, especially over in Hillsborough, in the Tampa area, what's going on there? We're expecting water coming up, the surge. We're seeing it go the other way.
Right. So these are fascinating. And Twitter was overtaken by these images. Our own Jillian Mealy posted this yesterday in the Tampa Bay area. What this was the offshore winds pushing. The winds were so strong as the storm was moving northward. So the offshore winds was pushing this water out into the bay. This is a phenomenon that actually happens in the Great Lakes. It does happen. It's not completely out of the ordinary, but because we had such strong winds, it was pushing it. And I don't like the word sucking. That is not appropriate when it comes to meteorological terms. I know a lot of people are like, well, it was the low pressure that was sucking out the winds. That is not the case. It is just an easy explanation of the offshore winds pushing that water out into the Gulf of Mexico. Now that you've got onshore winds, it's pushing it back, and that's the most dangerous.
It's a reverse surge.
Absolutely.
Just like that.
Nicely
Not
done.
a suck, a surge.
I know, I apologize. That's not meteorologically correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, it's more sports-oriented.
It's amazing.
Especially if you think about the Giants last night.
Amazing to
Thank you,
see
Janice.
what used to be all water, and now nothing there.
Pushed out to sea.
Yep.
All right, JD, thank you.
All right, meanwhile, Irma's wrath is far from over as it heads north.
America's mayor, as he was dubbed 16 years ago today, Rudy Giuliani, counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, and Governor Rick Scott of Florida will all join us live coming up.
And he ran to the Twin Towers with 60 pounds of gear on his back to help save lives on 9/11. We are keeping firefighter Steven Siller's memory alive with his brother, who is live from Ground Zero. That's next.
When I grow up, I want to make cars fly, soaring through the air like a rocket.
We all grow up, but you might say my head's still in the clouds. Because at Coke, my team and I dream up new technologies to make cars more aerodynamic, which improves fuel economy. It's a challenge, but this is what I was born to do.
That's right, keep rocking. The SiriusXM free listening event might be over, but you can turn us back on with packages starting at $6.99 a month plus fees. Just visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM to keep hearing all the things that make you love taking the long way home. So visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM or call 1-844-479-6669 to turn us back on and up.
I have asthma, one of many pieces in my life. So when my asthma symptoms kept coming back on my long-term control medicine, I talked to my doctor and found a missing piece in my asthma treatment with Brio.
Once daily Brio prevents asthma symptoms. Brio's for adults with asthma not well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Brio won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Brio is specifically designed to open up airways to improve breathing for a full 24 hours. Brio contains a type of medicine that increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Brio is not for people whose asthma is well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Brio and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Brio more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Ask your doctor if 24-hour Brio could be a missing piece for you.
See if you're eligible to pay no more than $10 a month.
Only Invisalign clear aligners are made with Smart Track material to precisely move your teeth to your best smile. See how Invisalign treatment can shape your smile up to 50% faster today at Invisalign.com.
Back for any occasion with Joseph A. Bank Super Tuesday sale and save up to 70% store-wide. Executive suits $199. Best-selling traveler shirts $3 for $99. Plus, take an extra 50% off clearance items. The Super Tuesday sale, only at Joseph A. Bank.
Kevin, meet your father.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin. Kevin. Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin. Kevin.
Trusted advice for life.
Kevin, how's your mom?
Thank you.
Life well planned. See what a Raymond James financial advisor can do for you.
All right, as you remember 9/11 this morning, you also may recall shortly after Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, an American flag was draped over the gaping hole that was left behind.
Ever since, the Stars and Stripes are again unfurled in that very spot for us to remember the 184 people who were killed there and the hundreds of men and women who have lost their lives fighting a war that has been raging ever since.
That's right. At 9:37 this morning, there will be a moment of silence to remember the moment Flight 77 hit the Pentagon 16 years ago. The Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs will join President Trump and the First Lady at the remembrance. Now let's watch.
It's amazing how quick they fixed that, too. It was just phenomenal, but that's where it hit.
We remember those who lost their lives on 9/11. On September 11th, firefighter Stephen Siller headed into Manhattan. He was determined to help all of those in the Twin Towers, even running through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel with 60 pounds of gear strapped to his back.
He successfully raced to the burning buildings where he sacrificed his life while saving others. And Stephen's heroic actions that day inspired his family to create a foundation in his honor.
Co-host of Fox & Friends Weekend and U.S. Army vet Pete Hegseth joins us right now from Ground Zero, along with the CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation and Stephen's older brother, Frank. Pete?
Good morning, guys. We just saw the unfurling of the flag at the Pentagon. We remember those brave heroes of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And, of course, here at Ground Zero, just over my shoulder, is the Freedom Tower, which stands today. And we remember those two towers that fell 16 years ago. Over 3,000, almost 3,000 lives total lost, and lives changed for every single American across this country, either personally, through a loved one, or the way that it shaped a generation of people who went and fought wars as a result of those radical Islamic terrorist attacks on 9/11. I'm joined this morning by Frank Siller, and Frank is the CEO, as you mentioned, of Tunnel to Towers Foundation, named for an amazing story of your brother, Stephen, who on that fateful day, which we all remember, it changed all of our lives, but yours in particular, his specifically. Tell us about Stephen and tell us what he did on that day, September 11th, 2001.
Well, Stephen was on his way home to play golf with myself and my two other brothers, and he heard on his radio scanner that the towers were hit. So he went back to his firehouse, he got his gear, and we're standing right outside the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel here. So he drove his truck to the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. It was closed for security reasons. He strapped his gear on the back, ran through the nearly 2 miles of towers, ran up West Street right up to the South Tower, which was, inflamed, ran up those stairs and gave up his life to save others. So we knew we had to do something to honor him, and we started a foundation in his name.
What is it about a man like Stephen that, the North Tower was the first one hit, the South Tower hit second, the South Tower fell first, yet it's engulfed in flames, and he, while others are running down, makes the choice to run up? What is it about someone like him that gives him the courage to do something like that?
Well, it didn't surprise us. Stephen was very special, but all our first responders have that kind of heart and that kind of guts to do it, just like our men and women in uniform that serve our country. He has made us so proud and inspired his older siblings to do good in his memory. And we're doing that today. We're heading up to Syracuse right from here. We're giving away a house to U.S. Army Specialist Matthew Leva, who joined because of 9/11. It's a smart home. They're giving back some of his independence. He lost both his legs, both his hands. And we're doing something so good on a day that was so bad 16 years ago. We want to defeat evil with goodness.
That's such a great perspective, because there's a ceremony. We'll be reading the nearly 3,000 names, moments of silence for when the towers were struck, when the towers fell, when the Pentagon was hit, when the plane went down in Shanksville. But as you mentioned, what I love about Tunnel to Towers is you're following through with those who then responded. You know, we said George Bush stood on that rubble pile and said, you know, they'll hear all of us soon.
That's right.
And a lot of us went over there, and many gave so much. And you are literally going to give a home to a guy who otherwise wouldn't be able to live at home.
Right. You know, most of these young men and women would never survive the battlefield years ago because their injuries are so horrific. And to be able to do that in honor of my brother and all those who perished here, I mean, what could be a better thing to do? You know, and then, you know, today we want to make sure that our prayers and thoughts are with those who are in Florida and Texas, too. You know, our foundation does a lot of hurricane relief, and we're going to start today. I want to make it very positive today for us and our family. $100,000 our foundation is putting towards our hurricane relief, tunneltotowers.org, and we will love people to join us in making sure that we don't forget our brothers and sisters.
It's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Thank you, Frank, very much. More Fox and Friends on the other side as we never forget on this 9/11/60.
Big news from Advil. Advil Liquid Gels Minis, our first concentrated pill that rushes powerful relief. A small new size that's fast because it's liquid. You'll ask, what pain? New Advil Liquid Gels Minis.
Career politicians and the media trying to stop him. But President Trump is fighting for America. Over 1 million new jobs. Companies investing billions in America. Stock market reaching all-time record highs. Our border more secure. Cracking down on MS-13. Our economy winning again. Americans working again. Our country strong again. Americans are saying, let President Trump do his job and make America great again.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Marie Callender's turkey pot pie starts with turkey covered in a rich, flavorful gravy and a crust made from scratch. Because she knows that when it's cold outside, it's good food and good company that keep you warm inside. Marie Callender's. It's time to savor.
Irma's devastating path. As the storm wreaks havoc and rages on, we're live all day and all night. Stay with the Fox News Channel for continuing coverage.
From ordinary, and now far closer than you ever imagined. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Just in time for back to school, a new study shows parents and students alike prefer learning on paper.
Research shows that consistent reading of print pages can yield benefits, including increased language and mental development and improved memory. I am excited to partner with the Paper and Packaging How Life Unfolds campaign and their 15 Pages a Day reading program, encouraging everyone to take the pledge to read at least 15 print a day for numerous benefits.
Take the pledge at howlifeunfolds.com/15 pages.
How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to file a claim. My central air stopped working and needs to be replaced.
Oh, sorry, your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover air conditioners.
So what do you cover?
Well, home damage from things like earthquakes, volcanoes, a zombie apocalypse.
Zombie apocalypse.
Covered.
But not my air conditioner.
Mm-mm.
But his air conditioner would have been covered with a home warranty from American Home Shield, plus major components of 20 other home systems and appliances, from his electrical system to his water heater, and more. Homeowners insurance can cover what might happen.
Zombies are coming!
But award-winning American Home Shield helps cover what will happen.
Now the dryer won't work.
For a limited time, save $45 on an American Home Shield home warranty. Call 1-800-981-9856. Be sure with the Shield. American Home Shield.
Fox News alert, Hurricane Irma continues to impact Florida on the west coast, where the high tide is over the next hour and a half. Jeff Flock right now is live in Madeira Beach, where, Jeff, the worry is the storm surge.
And it's coming in. It's coming in as we speak, Steve. And I think, it's not coming in at a good time. It's coming in at high tide. And look at the waves are kind of crashing here. And, you kind of forget this is the Gulf. This is the Gulf. This is.
Well, you know what? He's standing out in a hurricane, and it looks as if some of the rain actually impacted his microphone. Jeff, we've lost your signal.
Yeah,
the audio portion.
And if it pops back, he obviously is sitting there on the rocks. In fact, he can hear us now. Hey, Jeff, you were saying you forget this is the Gulf.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, this looks more like an ocean to me right at the moment. And.
Yeah, well, we tried.
Going in and out. Yeah.
He's been in the rain for the last 48 hours.
But you know what you do? Your sun's beginning to come up. You're beginning to have a real perspective on what's happening. So every time we go out to a reporter, it's going to be newsworthy because it's going to be revealing what the damage was.
Well, originally that storm didn't look like it was heading for Tampa. It looked like it was going to go on the east side of Florida. So all of my friends that live in that area, they were not evacuating. They were just going to higher ground. They were going to a more elevated area.
Well, I had friends on the East Coast go to the West Coast, and then they wound up taking the brunt of it on that side.
Wow.
I knew people in Palm Beach County, a couple we know, actually went to Kentucky to ride the storm.
Oh, yeah.
out.
I have friends that live in Tampa, and they went to Nashville. My best friend who lives there, she was going to the elevated higher ground. Then I called her at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. I said, you've got to get out. She took all of her boxes of all of her pictures. She was in tears. She put them in a hotel room, and then she got in the car with her 3 kids, and they headed to South Carolina.
The point of my story was she went to Kentucky. The storm is going to Kentucky and Tennessee. So it is a big storm.
It's huge.
And it's not done yet.
And Atlanta today, about 60-mile-an-hour winds in Atlanta. But
Janice says expecting a lot of rain in those areas. Well, still ahead this morning, America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, Mike Huckabee, and Counselor to the President Kellyanne Conway are going to join us live.
Oh, you brought Butch.
Yeah.
He's looking at me right now, isn't he?
Yep.
Butch is like an old soul that just hates my guts.
You can never have too many faithful companions.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
Why did she borrow $42,000 for tuition? Why did she borrow $19,400 for room and board? Why did she borrow $1,100 for student fees and $250 for a graduation gown? She did it to work for you. And now you can do something for her with a job benefit that helps your employees pay off their student loans. Gratify is gratitude.
COPD makes it hard to breathe. So to breathe better, I go with a Noro.
COPD tries to say go this way. I say I'll go my own way with a Noro.
Once Daily Anoro contains 2 medicines called bronchodilators that work together to significantly improve lung function all day and all night. Anoro is not for asthma. It contains a type of medicine that increases risk of death in people with asthma. The risk is unknown in COPD. Anoro won't replace rescue inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be used more than once a day. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition, high blood pressure, glaucoma, prostate, bladder, or urinary problems. These may worsen with Anoro. Call your doctor if you have worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain while taking Anoro.
Ask your doctor about Anoro.
Get your first prescription free at Anoro.com.
My job? Create a workplace that provides great experiences and builds value.
That takes an accomplished HR team with the latest skills and know-how. And nothing spells that more clearly than SHRM CP and SHRM SCP.
SHRM's competency-based certifications say HR professionals are ready to build business success and shape the changing world of work.
I'm confident when I know an HR professional is SHRM certified.
Accredited SHRM certifications are the key to great HR.
And great HR makes great organizations.
You know who likes to be in control? This guy. Check it out. Self-appendectomy. Now. Oh, that's really attached. That's why I rent from National, where I get the control to choose any car in the aisle I want, not some car they choose for me. Which makes me one smooth operator. Still a little tender. Go National. Go like a pro.
Hurricane Irma battering Florida, bringing more wind, rain, and damage.
The massive storm blamed for at least 5 deaths, including 2 police officers.
The storm now downgraded to a Category 1 storm, but the danger is not over yet.
We just found this sign here. Look at the sign is down here. Ha! Look at that. Strong current. Danger. No joke. But I tell you, we're not done with this storm yet. It's still wailing pretty good.
Wherever Hurricane Irma goes, we'll be there first.
I want everybody to survive this storm. As you know, we can't send out first responders, but this